Welcome to the Don James High School Football Report, everybody. This is Donovan James, and happy to have you guys here another Tuesday night. Excuse me, we got a full locked and loaded show tonight. A lot of coaching changes, of course. A lot of high school football rankings moved around as far as individual players. I think some playoffs, a lot of people moving the rankings around. A lot of top 25 rankings moved around. It's just crazy, the Heisman voting is pretty soon. The awards are going on this week, all Pac-12, all SEC, all conferences going on. There's a lot going on in football. It's December. This is our time of month, the football guys, finally. I think we have Ryan Forts in with us tonight.
Yes. How you doing, Donovan?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I can't see who's calling in this time from this show, so you guys are going to have to bear with me if I make any mistakes. I know last week we had some technical difficulties, so I hope you guys can hear me a little bit better on this show tonight. Always have Ryan Swartz on, dear friend, that comes on and talks about Pac-5 football, or just all California football, all football around the country, really. So we'll get into it, Ryan. I'm letting people know that we got a lots of loaded show tonight, of course. Man, I've got some big-time changes in my top 25 rankings. And we'll go through our top fours like we do every week. We're even going to talk about the National Player of the Year. I guess, it'll be the Gatorade Player of the Year, the most prestigious award for a high school football player, or USA Today Player of the Year. So we're going to talk about our Player of the Year candidates across the country, and I guess we'll do a State Player of the Year, too, for California, since they're both from there. And then, the Sonny Dykes and Missouri rumors, Kirby Smart to Georgia just happened now. So we'll have Eric Robinson from Blogging Dirty and RSE in Sports, the same company as me. We'll have him in tonight as well to talk about the UGA job and his Heisman 5. Ryan, if you want to stick around for your Heisman 5, I know you know college football just as well as high school, so you can throw yours in there too, or just the guy you think that should win the trophy as of today. Of course, next week is the big championship week, so everything's going to change. But as of now, we're going to go through it. And then Shiano, the Rutgers rumors, and, Jacob Eason, the Florida rumors. A lot of rumors, a lot of things happening. We're going to go over 2010 class events of the show with Jim Coburn and probably talk about just coaching jobs in general. But, we're going to start off with what we do best, and that's high school football, right? Obviously, a lot of shake and bake this week. My top 25 isn't out on the website yet. I am in the process of moving right now, so it's pretty tough, to be honest. But I do have it written for you, and I have it done. I have a new number one, and it's St. John Bosco after that performance they put on last week. And, sorry, Gorman, Allen, Colquitt, all these other teams, but St. John Bosco is the best team in the country to me right now. I know that Gorman beat them last year. That was last year. This year's team looks a little bit better than Bishop Gorman now that I've seen them just dominate the state playoffs. So let's talk about it, man. Talk about St. John Bosco's dominant performance this weekend versus Bishop Amat, because I had no idea they would do that to them, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anybody saw that type of performance coming. 63-10, shutting down a high-powered Bishop Amat offense with 2 4-star USC commits. Not to mention Toriano Sweet, who's very underrated, but one of the best backs in the Southern section. Completely dominated from start to finish. Got it done on offense. Quarterback Quentin Davis, 17 of 20 completed passes, so that says a lot as far as in sync St. John Bosco was. The defense got 3 touchdowns. So just in every phase, St. John Bosco dominated. So deservingly jumping up in the rankings, their domination all season, now against a great Bishop Amat team. Just can't really say enough about how impressive it's been all year, but that 63-10 victory in the Pac-5 semifinals says a lot, and they'll get a chance to even further impress with the resume against Centennial this week, as Centennial got by Mater Dei 42-36. Really wasn't that close of a game, it seemed like. Centennial led 42-16 late in the third quarter, and then Mater Dei got back into it with 3 quick quick scoring touchdowns to make it a lot more respectable. It actually came down to an onside kick, so not to discredit modern day, but really for 3 quarters, Centennial dominated. Very interesting. I've always paid attention to high-tempo offenses with big leads or semi-big leads that need to slow down their offense towards the end of the game and get away from what they normally do. And it seemed that as Centennial tried to chew some clock in the fourth quarter, it definitely disrupted some rhythm, and they didn't look like their normal selves. Also didn't have Javon McKinley for most of the second half. He's been banged up the last couple weeks, but should be good to go for the championship game against Bosco this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, man, both the games were blowouts, basically. I know the score was closer than indicated with Modern Day, like you said, but, I mean, this is the matchup of the week. It's my matchup. It's got to be the game of the week, at least in the state of California, if not the country. I mean, this is, quickly go through my top teams. St. John Bosco is one. They play Corona Centennial, obviously, at Angel Stadium. Bishop Gorman is still number 2, and they're right there. I think if Bosco wins out, they'll keep the number 1 spot. If they lose, then, maybe Centennial hops up. Maybe Gorman goes back. We don't know. If they beat the daylights off of Liberty, then we'll see. Liberty's a solid football team. Not a lot of people know about. I'm sure you know about that, of course, but it's a pretty solid football team. Then Allen is number 3 for me. They play Ryan out of Denton, which is it's going to be a fun matchup. Ryan, just because they run the ball well, they're fast on the outside at receiver, and they play good defense up front. They're a lot bigger than Allen, which is rare. And Allen hasn't faced a team quite like that yet, so it'll be interesting to see that matchup. I still think Allen will pull it off, but they're 3, and then Corona Centennial, that's 4, which, somebody's not going to be in the top 4 next week, unless maybe it's just, the greatest game in the history of the state of California, like the 5 overtime game that Victor Marietta played or something like that. But, I don't know. I mean, that's my top 4. I got Colquitt County. They kind of struggled, but they won. They played Mill Creek. Katy is number 6. They play Manville. This is going to be a pretty big game, too. De La Salle plays Dublin. Sure, they'll win by 4 touchdowns, at least on the night game. Mayo plays Lafayette Lexington, which is a tricky game, but I think Mayo will get the job done. They played a really good game last week. The past 2 weeks, they've looked really good. It looked like they definitely belong in the top 10, and that's why I have them at number 8. On IMG, still, obviously idle. They're number 9. Clay Chalkville is number 10, but I got a strange feeling that Spanish Fork might win this game. I'm kind of calling the upset, I guess you could say, Ryan. I think Spanish Fork is a good 13-1 team, or 12-1 team, kind of other receiving votes type of team. They're right outside the top 25. And I think they're just a lot of seniors on that team. They've been through a lot of things, from 8 wins, I think, a couple years ago, which is really disappointing for one of the top teams in Alabama every year. And I think they're going to win, with the upset. Mission Viejo comes in 11. They play Victor Marietta. And Grayson plays Roswell, which is the games this week are just ridiculous. I mean, I'm reading all these games, and anyone can go down, to be honest, probably except De La Salle that I've said so far. Roswell, I think Grayson's going to win by a good amount. I'm not saying Roswell's overrated. I just think Grayson's a little bit better than I thought, and a lot of people other people think they are as well. St. Edward and Wayne out of Huber Heights is the biggest game of the state in Ohio, obviously. Wayne, Huber Heights is 20 on my rankings, and St. Edward is 13. That's a huge one. Lake Travis gets Rockwall, which should be easy for them. The same with St. Thomas Aquinas, who plays Braden River. Trinity Christian Academy. Ryan, I've been wrong a lot of times, but I was really wrong about Tampa Catholic. Tampa Catholic, it's a young team. I went out on a limb and picked them. They obviously lost 42-16 versus the Trinity Christian Academy, which I respect that win a lot. They play American Heritage in Orlando. I think they'll win that game and go undefeated. And they could have it's crazy. They could end up the best team in the state of Florida if St. Thomas Aquinas goes down at any point and they win out. They could very well be the best team in the state. And that they're a Class 3A team in Jacksonville, so they don't get a lot of love as everybody else. But they can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the state of Florida. They deserve it. So they're kind of my team I highlighted this week, along with Folsom, who plays Oak Grove. I know you have your eyes on that game. And before we get into all these Pac-5 schools, and I talk about the Mission Viejo game as well, tell me a little bit about Folsom versus Elk Grove, if you can, actually. Just a little bit,
Yeah, that two 13-0 teams going head-to-head. Elk Grove really put the section on notice after they beat Grant 42-7. And, Grant is usually a traditional Sac Joaquin section power, usually number 2 behind Folsom. And actually the last team that's beat Folsom's on a long winning streak right now. But Elk Grove took them out 42-7, and sort of like the southern section where everybody's been waiting for St. John Bosco and Centennial. In the north end, everybody's been waiting for this showdown between Folsom and Elk Grove. Folsom will be led by quarterback Jake Jeffrey, who took over for record setter Jake Browning, who's now at Washington. And Jake Jeffrey has had a great season. Same for Elk Grove. They're going to be led by Ryan Robards, who's had school record-setting season at running back for them. Also one of the team's best defenders, really a do-all kind of guy for them. So it'll be Elk Grove versus Folsom, but Ryan Robards versus Jake Jeffrey, and I think whichever one of those two stars shines the brightest, that will be your winner. So really hard to predict with Folsom's dominance the last few years. Hard to pick against them, but Elk Grove seems like they're right there with them this year. So coin flip game, maybe the difference. Folsom had to come back late against St. Mary's last week, almost got upset. I think maybe that near slip-up might get Folsom back on track, refocused, and ready to continue as the machine that they are up north. So maybe Folsom in a close one, but I really look forward to that game.
Well, I look forward to it as well. You did, perfect job of it. I think Elk Grove wins. I just think that, they kind of got exposed a little bit. St. Mary's a solid team, don't get me wrong, but I think if they get down on Elk Grove with that D-line, and they have to, obviously they're already throw the ball a ton, they're going to run into a little bit of trouble. So I think
it might be a bad matchup.
It can go either way.
Yeah,
it might be, but it can go either way.
For Folsom with a team that can eat some clock and control, sort of reminiscent of that Don Bosco Bishop Horman game, or just any team that can control the clock and take away from the other team's strengths. Could be a bad matchup for Folsom.
Could be. I do like their quarterback. He's not just Browning, of course, but he's a good quarterback, and they just keep on rolling. They got something special up there in Folsom, though. They're a really good team that people are starting to notice now after all the things that Jake Browning did for them over the past,
no doubt.
4 years. Then, DeMatha Catholic is 18 for me. Cedar Park is 19. They've had it easy in their playoffs, though. I don't know how high they're going to move. So a lot of people don't even have them as high as me just because their playoffs they've just gotten lucky. To be honest, they've ran into a few upsets. So they come in at 19, though. Like I said, Heber Heights, Wayne is 20. Maryville is 21. Westlake is 22. Brentwood Academy comes in at 23. Steubenville is a new team that moves up at 24. And Bishop Moore with a huge win last weekend out of Orlando move up. They played Jessup in the state title game. That's going to be a fun one. And, teams like Skyline, beat like Stevens and Coleraine, they lost in Trinity, but they're still in there. Those 3 teams from South Carolina, Byron, Spartanburg, and Northwestern are all kind of in it. Camarillo's still undefeated out west. Not a lot of people talking about Camarillo, but they're still undefeated out west. Don Bosco Prep is a 3-loss team, but, who's better than Don Bosco Prep? I can't really name 30 teams better. Resume-wise, obviously, their resume isn't top 25, but their talent, one of those teams that kind of like Tennessee for college football. They have the top 4 talent. They could be in the college football playoffs, but they just, lost to a really close game. The Gorman game was the closest one all year, possibly. Just matched up really well with them. So then Cedar Grove out of Indiana, still undefeated. That's a team that a lot of people are really high on. And Gilman, Maryland's already won a state title. But Ocean Lakes, man, they went down this weekend. And Webb City, disappointing Webb City. I thought what city would win the state title, and that was a team I was like, they're going to be in the top 10 at the end of my polls. I promise you that. And they lost the state title. Ocean Lakeside, I could have seen them going down. They could have went either way. They played a really good opponent. It happens. You get caught sometimes. It's deep in the playoffs. It's a good run. But I'm going to ask you your top four, Ryan. Same as last week, or some things changed?
Yeah, I hate to be boring, but we're the same top four: St. John Bosco, Bishop Gorman, Allen, Centennial. But I will say, with St. John Bosco, if they were to lose to Centennial or De La Salle in the state championship, that would pave the way for somebody to bump them. And if Centennial beats St. John Bosco but loses to De La Salle, I think both St. John Bosco and Centennial will be knocked out of the number one spot for good. Two really solid top 10 teams if that ends up being the case. But if either one of those two teams wins out and wins the state championship, that will be my number one to end the season. But if not, if either of those teams lose to De La Salle, you're going to have three really good one-loss teams in California, and then a team like Bishop Gorman, possibly Colquitt, even Katy could jump up to that number one spot. So Katy's got a couple of big games ahead, and same with Colquitt. So still a long way to go before we figure this thing out.
It's a long way to go, man. Honestly, those top 10 teams, De La Salle has a loss to Trinity, which hurts them, of course, but I still think they can end up being number one. You're telling me if they blow out their next opponents, especially if they play like Bosco in the state title, like you just said, and not blow them out, but win convincingly. I think De La Salle could end up still being number one. And that loss was kind of a weird game with the weather, and everything. So, it's open, But I do got to ask you, since our top four are the same, great minds think alike, of course. National Player of the Year. Season's not over yet, of course. Still got a few weeks. But as far as right now, who would you say is the National Player of the Year?
Well, I would stick with the number one ranked team in the nation that I have and that most people have now, and I'll go with St. John Bosco quarterback Quentin Davis. When we look at last year and we have some video game numbers with Jake Browning and Kyler Murray out of Allen, anything after that season looks pedestrian. So Quentin Davis has thrown for over 3,500 yards. He has 39 touchdown passes and only 2 interceptions. Far from the stats that we saw from the two All-American Player of the Years, just about in everybody's, in every publication. But really solid season, completing 70% of his passes. If you think about what he stepped into to start the year, he was replacing 3-year starter and 5-star prospect Josh Rosen, who was getting a lot of buzz at UCLA. So Quentin Davis came into that situation knowing that he was second in command behind one of the state's best running backs in Sean McGrew, and did everything asked of him and then some. So I think with the stats, the winning, the ranking, and just the situation that he was put into and how he's handled it, to me, that would be my player of the year right now today. So few other guys that are right there with him, but for me, not to be a California homer, but that would get my nod if I had a vote in it.
Okay, and I was going to ask you a California State Player of the Year, but obviously Quentin Davis is from Beaufort, California, so we got that one locked down. So, easy, man. Ryan just gets in and gets out. It's awesome. He's definitely a top 10 guy. For me, it's hard to ask this question and then not almost be able to answer it. But my guy right now, even though Lake Stevens just lost this weekend, Jacob Eason's my National Player of the Year. Because Lake Stevens, I really wanted them to win that game. They did. He did as much as he could, man, honestly, to let them stay in the game. 43 touchdowns, only 6 picks, 69.5% completion percentage. Crazy, right? They went 12-1. They lost the game. It wasn't his fault. He was 33 of 48, 3 touchdowns at 1 pick. He played great. For they don't have a running game either. That's great too. So Jacob Eason is my guy. He threw for 3,585 yards, pocket quarterback. He only ran for 95 yards, but I mean, he's got a lot on his plate right now. Obviously, with the coaching carousel that's going on right now, all the recruiting is going to change. When you look back at February 5th, 2016, remember, this weekend, basically, and today and going forward, how it changed everything. A lot of decommits are about to happen, a lot of upset parents and kids and stuff like that. Ethan, the Georgia commit, now looking like Florida is opening it up a little bit, and possibly a couple other schools, maybe even Washington, who knows. But we'll see. I mean, I think he might end up at Florida, but Felipe Franks is at Florida now too, though, so I don't know about that one. Possibly just depends about the Will Greer situation, to be honest, because there's some rumors that he might not be coming back. After his suspension, he might try to transfer, possibly somewhere else or something like that. I'm not sure. We'll see. Who knows, to be honest. But Miles Brennan has got to be in there, too. Kid from St. Louis Bay, Mississippi. His stats are just ridiculous. He's going to probably be at Elite 11, which we're going to talk about in the next show about the candidates for Elite 11 coming up. But Miles Brennan is already one of them. 4,861 yards, 51 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions. Crazy numbers. Tate Martell and his running back, gosh, I'm Biagio right now. Yeah, Biagio, Ollie Walsh. Yeah, both those guys have to be in it as well because they just keep on winning. Levante Taylor, Rashawn Gary, Tavian Feaster, actually, out of Spartanburg, is doing a really good job too. Najee Harris, who I know they lost, but man, he put up a monster game. Probably the best running back game in the state. Or best game by a running back in the state of California this year. And then Sam Bruce, out of St. Thomas Aquinas, would be the only other guy. He just does a little bit of everything. That's why I like Sam Bruce. He can do a little bit of everything for you. Well, before I let you get out of here, what about the Mission Viejo Vista Marietta game? Had to get to that one.
Vista Marietta wins by 50. You know that.
Of course. No, I don't know. We struggled last week.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. After 5 overtimes in what was maybe the best game of the year, it'll be interesting to see if Vista Marietta has anything left in the tank. But Mission Viejo, they've been my favorite to come out of that. I believe it's the West Division, West Valley. They've been my favorite. Vista Marietta right there with them. I feel like after Mission Viejo, they started off with a couple losses to start the season, maybe even 3, and in their minds got snubbed out of a state semifinal bowl game and just left out of the state picture altogether. So I feel like they've been just playing with a chip on their shoulder, anxious to get into a state game. So I'll take Mission Viejo in another close game. But I will be rooting for your alma mater. I'll tell you that.
All right, that's fine. Honestly, hope none of my, fellow classmates were listening, but I think Mission Viejo is going to win by about 10 points. This Marietta has something that a lot of teams don't have, and that's the senior leadership. A lot of teams have senior leadership, but not as many seniors as Vista. They have the most seniors in the state. A lot of experienced guys, a lot of guys that just play tough. Anything about Coach Candell, he's one of the most passionate coaches in the state of California. He does a really good job with in-game planning, I feel like, halftime adjustments, but he's no Bob Johnson. Of course, Bob Johnson is a legend. He's one of the best coaches anywhere, any state. And I just think Mission Viejo's better on defense. Vista Marietta defense isn't great. They can score all those points, but when things get tough, I'm not sure they're going to be able to manufacture enough on defense to stop Mission Viejo Diablo. So I'll go with them too. And, I have one last question. That was supposed to be the last question, but somebody had a question about Camarillo, actually, to me. Just on the street, don't know who the guy was. We were just talking about California football, and he was saying Camarillo's not getting enough respect. What do you think about Camarillo? Are they one of the top 10 teams in the state of California, or are they kind of where they are supposed to be? Should they be up there with Bosco and Centennial?
No.
Not quite.
No, I would say right there at top 10. I think Bosco, Centennial, De La Salle, maybe even Modern Day, and even though Bishop Amat had a poor showing, maybe those 5 are really on a different level. But I think Camarillo would be, there with, some of the other top teams in the state. They had a 1-point win over Calabasas, and if you've heard, Calabasas is just loaded with future D1 players, a little bit on the younger side, but a lot of 4-star type players. So Calabasas, if you knock them off, then, I think there's something to be said about that. So, we'll learn a lot more about Camarillo in the state playoffs, as long as seeds hold up and they make it there. But I would keep them, somewhere in that 5 to 10 range, most likely. Outside of the Calabasas game, there's not a whole lot to analyze them off of, but knocking off Calabasas to me was an impressive win, enough to put them in that 5 to 10 range.
It was a super impressive win. And I agree with you. I think they're in the bottom half of the top 10 anyway, like 8, 9, 10, maybe borderline outside of the top. I mean, they're a solid team, but Calabasas is great. That's going to be a fun team. So I love their quarterback. I cannot pronounce his last name perfectly, so I'm not even going to try it. But I do love their quarterback, and obviously they got, baby Keyshawn and everything. They're a good team, but they're not quite ready yet. And Camarillo's not quite there yet, but they could go undefeated. They could definitely do that, and they could be picked to be in the state playoffs. Along with Heritage High School, too. I want to give them a little love. They've done a really good job. I know they're in a smaller conference, but Coach Broach has done a great job with that team. They're always undefeated, it just seems like. They're always winning. Brett Virgil's record probably is insane. That kid's been there for 3 years. I think he's only lost like 3 or 4 games his whole career. So I want to give them a little love, too, out of Romoland or Menifee, California. But Ryan Swartz, I'm going to let you go, man. You had a good one, It's going to be fun to come back next week. Will you be at the Bosco and Corona Centennial game?
No. We talked about that a few weeks ago, but not a big fan of the Angel Stadium layout. If that game was at, Cerritos College or, one of the other football-type stadiums, I'd be there for sure. But I'll be happy watching it on TV. Really enjoyed watching the Centennial Modern Day game on TV last week, so I'll be happy to watch it on TV. I'll probably send some updates. Maybe. That game will probably be overloaded with people updating it, so maybe I won't. But I'll be watching every play, so excited. I'll get to go see Bishop Gorman versus Liberty at Sam Boyd Stadium here in Vegas, and then come home and watch that game a little bit later in the evening. So very excited for it.
Me too, man. Excited for it. Definitely follow Ryan on Twitter. Tell him your Twitter name, Ryan, and where they can find your work as well.
Yeah, you can follow me at Swartz, my last name, SWARTZ 27. I will be covering the West region for nationalhighschoolfootball.com. Send out the West Primer with the top 5 games on the West Coast each week. So follow and interact, and love to talk high school football. So thanks for having me, Donovan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for coming on the show. I know the time was back further now, but, we're on the West Coast, so it's okay, I guess. But thank you.
Right. I'm good.
Again, thank you for coming on. Oh, yeah, no problem. That was Ryan Swartz. Like I said, every week, I got to keep having him back until the season's over with. When recruiting starts, we'll get him back on the show as well. Does a really good job out on the West Coast, especially, Vegas and California. And with Gorman booming out there versus Liberty, that's a big game. A lot of trash talk on Twitter. And the Bosco Corona Centennial game is the biggest of the week in all the states, all 50 of them, just because there's no site that doesn't have Corona Centennial and Bosco in their top 10, at least, honestly, top 5 for most people. I think there's 6 in USA Today, but Bosco's 2 or 3, something like that. So it's going to be crazy to watch. It'll be fun. I'm not a big fan of baseball stadium stuff either with football games. I think we got Jim Coburn on, who knows a lot about that. But
how's it going, Donovan?
It's going pretty good. We're Ryan Swartz is on, of course, talking about the big games this week. The Bosco versus Corona Centennial game we're talking about because it's at Angel Stadium, and I know you know a lot about that because you're a Raiders fan, like I mentioned last time, I believe, on this show.
It's not the nicest stadium, so.
High school football because it just looks empty, even though it's not. You know, it could be like 10,000 people there, but it just looks kind of empty because all the seats and it's like the dirt and the lines. I don't know. It's just,
it's the way it's arranged is kind of odd, and it's just kind of, you know, it's a baseball stadium. It's not a football stadium, so it's kind of weird.
It's kind of weird. I guess, you know, money, most important. So they have to have it at the big time stadiums instead of having it at the, you know, high school stadium hosting, or maybe Cerritos College, like you mentioned, or a junior college. That's where a lot of the semifinal games are. These California playoffs take forever. We're week 14. The only state that has a selection committee is California, just like college football. I don't know, a lot of listeners know that, but just because you go undefeated doesn't mean you're getting in. You know, because there's just too many teams. There's too many high schools. California has the most high schools in all the states. Texas and Florida are just as long with their state playoffs for the most part, but they have the big brackets to get in. It would just take too long. It would be an 18-week season if California did it without a selection committee. So I wish I was a part of the selection committee because sometimes teams get screwed. But, you know, they usually pick the right team. They've done a really good job so far with the selection committee for the state playoffs for California. But we are going to transition. We do have Jim Coburn on, you know, from well, I don't know, Jim. You write for a couple of different places, but I guess fan-sided would be the biggest one. And, you know, Eric Robinson's coming in from Blogging Dirty and RSEN Sports to talk about Mr. Kirby Smart getting a head coaching job, as AJC reported earlier tonight. He is a head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs, which is going to change everything with recruiting for Alabama, Georgia, Florida, all the teams. It's going to really affect everybody. We'll talk about that. You know, we've done this coaching thing for a while, Jim, before everybody. And now, you know, it's crazy. We can't even really talk about who's filling in for who because it's just pointless. You know, every day something new. Something might break by the time, you know, the show ends, to be honest. So, you know, we're going to talk about the coaching changes. We'll talk about some rumors, some guys that, you know, we'll talk about the Heisman 5, too. I want to get your Heisman 5 and Eric. Eric does a really good job of doing a Heisman list every single week. We both do one. His is way more in-depth than mine, though. So we're going to talk about that. And the 2010 class, I know that the class is kind of incomplete because it's a young class, but there's some really good players in that class. Keenan Allen was my favorite player for this class. He was a DB, actually. He was the number one cornerback at the time. Played a little receiver, too, but we thought he was going to play corner. Ended up, you know, Pro Bowl receiver right now. He's injured, but we're going to talk about that later in the show as well. But, yeah, I'm going to start it off with these coaching rumors and changes, Jim. What's been the biggest storyline to you from the coaching rumors so far?
Wow. Well, I mean, right now you have Sonny Dykes rumored to be possibly going to Missouri, which was a little odd, only because a lot of the rumors are like he's not focused on Cal anymore. He's focused on the future. And yet, I don't think he's 100% done at Cal. But if he really wants to go to Missouri, I know there's probably going to be more money there. It's the SEC program, all this kind of stuff, and it kind of makes sense. But that's one that I've heard that's kind of interesting in terms of rumors go, in terms of how rumors go, in terms of that sort of stuff. The Kirby Smart. I know Kirby Smart is now, been reported by most media outlets that he's officially the coach at Georgia, but that was kind of a thing that was floating around a couple of days ago, and now it's confirmed by most places. And the Miami sort of stuff. I'm not sure if Mark Richt is confirmed or not for Miami, but at least that's what a lot of rumors have been saying. I don't know if that's 100% true.
Yeah.
But
I actually had a
chance.
Well, I was going to say I had a chance to talk to a former player there, and he's pretty sure he's going to be in Miami by this weekend. He is taking a trip to Virginia probably go on lunch and eat and talk about some money and see what things are going on. But Miami is opening up their books a little bit. They want their guy, like Georgia wanted their guy. Kirby Smart, alumni, a guy that's, still familiar with the program and, he's around still. So it's not confirmed, but I would say about 90% sure Mark Richt will take that job, to be honest.
Yeah, well, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun. I mean, those are some of the things. I think we've been joined by Eric Robinson, RSE and Sports.
Yes.
How's it going, Eric?
Same old, man.
Same. Yeah, well, what about the Kirby Smart hire? Jim was talking about the biggest headline so far with Sonny Dykes and everything and the Miami job. What do you think about Kirby Smart? Did they get the right guy?
I think they did. I felt Kirby Smart has been ready for a head coaching job for a few seasons now. I like the move. I actually like this move better than them trying to put Jeremy Pruitt in place. Smart is one of the best assistant coaches in the nation, in my opinion. He's a key recruiter for Nick Saban. And I think he's gonna do fine there. I've seen a lot of people compare this hire to the Muschamp hire in Gainesville, and I get that. He's a young assistant coach with no head coaching experience. But we gotta keep in mind here that coaching under Nick Saban is not, that's a nice little point on your resume, I guess. That's something that you want to, you kind of walk around with your chest out a little bit. You coached under Nick Saban, and Saban has a very promising coaching tree over his career. So, I mean, I kind of like the hire for Georgia.
I'm right there with you, man. When Mark Richt was let go, when the rumors started way back, I knew this was going to be the guy. There were some rumors I'm going to South Carolina or stay in D.C. at Alabama or whatever. Coaching winning. No, none of that stuff. This is where, he lives. First of all, he lives in Georgia. Second of all, yeah, he's a graduate of UGA. So, and it just fits. This is a team that, I think they should keep Jeremy Pruitt, to be honest, at DC. I don't know if he'd want to stay, but I think they should keep him, and I think he'll get a really good staff together. Not only is he the assistant under Nick Saban for all these years, assistant head coach, Nick Saban trusts him more than anybody in the country. So with his team,
and look at that means a lot when you actually take a look at the former head coaches that Saban has on his staff. He's had Lane Kiffin, Chris Stovall from FIU, Bobby Williams from Michigan State, and he still appointed this guy who hasn't had any head coaching experience as the assistant head coach over these former head coaches. So that should tell you something right there.
Yeah, definitely should. And one thing I will mention before I throw back to James asking some more fast is that Jeremy Pruitt is, he started from Hoover, Alabama as defensive coordinator, so they know each other. Those high school coaches, keep contact with the college coaches, of course, so they know each other. He's had a couple of players from Hoover and done some recruiting down there. He's at Florida State, won a national championship. That's key. If he wants to keep him, I don't know, but I would keep him. Jeremy Pruitt's done a really good job.
It sounds good, but I think with Smart going to Georgia, I think South Carolina's going to turn their attention to Pruitt now. At least that's the rumors that I'm hearing swirling around now. That they're still going to try to make a late push for Smart, but I think they're going to turn their attention to Pruitt now and see if he, wants the job there in Columbia.
I mean, that's not a bad move at all. That's not a bad move at all to go with Jeremy Pruitt. I mean, Jeremy Pruitt is another young DC, another guy that was really this guy moved up, man. I mean, I remember watching two-a-days, and he was a defensive coordinator, and now he's about to be a head coach possibly, and that was 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that, but still, he's done a really good job. Excellent recruiter, excellent defensive coordinator, really good at just being a player's coach, but still kind of tough on the kids. So I think that'll be a good hire. Let me ask Jim about that, actually. Jeremy Pruitt to South Carolina sound good to you?
It's interesting. I think the thing about South Carolina is they seem to have lost most of the guys that every guy that they kind of wanted for the most part has went to other places. And then they're a program that in many ways a lot of people are not really hating on, but, South Carolina, that kind of thing. But in terms of him going there, I mean, it would be an interesting hire there, definitely. If they're trying to go for a defensive-minded guy, which addresses one of their main issues they've had over the last couple of seasons, which has been their defense. Even when Clowney was there, their defense wasn't exactly that great overall. So I think that would be a really good hire to kind of give him identity, knows the division, of course, and hey, I mean, it's a little bit of ring around the rosy to a certain extent, but it is something that you'll have a little bit of continuity there, I guess, because of him knowing the division and the conference and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got one quick thing to add on to that. I'm born and raised from South Carolina, so I kind of have my ear there as far as what the fan base there will like. I think they kind of want a young guy. If you look back at their history, past few head coaches, they had Spurrier, who was up in age, and then they had Lou Holtz. I think they want a young guy that they can see if they can build, quote unquote, dynasty, I guess, with. So as far as the old, a few weeks back, I saw rumors of like Mac Brown and stuff like that, and I didn't see that really being a fit. So I think a good number of the fan base there wants a young head coach, wants their own identity, and they kind of want to build with that young head coach.
I agree with you. They do want a young coach, from what I've heard as well. You've got definitely more ears from South Carolina than I do, but the guy that's not really being talked about too much for the job that I think could possibly get it is Jeff Collins from Florida, the defensive coordinator there. The interview for the UCF job, they wanted offense. They wanted Scott Frost. That was a perfect hire to me, even though he has no ties to Florida whatsoever. But it was just a hire that splashy. UCF needed it. It's Orlando. He's got young kids. He's perfect for him. They can score a bunch of points in his fast-paced offense. But Jeff Collins, pretty young guy. And he's defense, coaching in the SEC right now with Florida. Who knows what they're going to do on Saturday with Alabama? But that could be a hire that I could be interested in if I was South Carolina. And they don't want to spend a lot of money. I know that their sports program doesn't have too much money to spend right now, so they're not going to spend top dollar. So a coordinator is going to be what they get, or a mid-major head coach, I would believe. But we'll see. That South Carolina job is still a good job. South Carolina has really. I just talked about Northwestern High School in Byronton and Spartanburg and all these high schools, top high schools, elite high schools in the state of South Carolina. Eric knows, I'm sure, some of the best players in the country. Yeah. If I looked at rival top 250 right now, I'm sure I'd pick out, 10 players from South Carolina. They just need to win in state battles. Brent Venables would be a guy I would look at because he's doing a good job with Clemson right now as well. He's a pretty young guy. He's been around the block for a really long time at Oklahoma and Clemson. So there's a few good names out there. Those are some of them. I want to ask you guys about a job a little bit up north. Greg Schiano, the Rutgers thing, is that a deal? Is that real? Could that happen possibly?
From a Canes fan standpoint, I'm hoping it is. Because I kind of don't want him in Miami. I don't want to be rude or anything, but I'm not too gung-ho. I'm not too gung-ho about Schiano putting on the orange and green and being the Canes the next Canes head coach. I'm not seeing that right there. So I'm kind of hoping that the Rutgers rumors are real. But I've heard the same thing about Golden. Golden has like a summer home or something like that up there in Jersey. So, and it's only like 20 miles or 20 minutes away from Rutgers campus. So his name has been floating around a lot around Rutgers too. So I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, Rich Sermonillo, college football insider, campus insider. Yeah, he actually knows Al Golden pretty well, and yeah, he's about 20 minutes away. That's a bike ride, Mike Riley bike ride. When he was in Corvallis, away from campus. He's got it's his permanent home actually. Is up there.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's down in Florida, obviously, but his main home, has been for a while, has been up there. So I think that could be a good move for Al Golden and that program. I would take Al Golden over Greg Schiano, but let me ask Jim, which one would you take?
It's a tough question, man. I mean, I honestly, I see Al Golden being the pick there, but only because he is from the New Jersey area. He grew up there and everything like that. Still has ties to that area. Didn't really leave it. And it's just kind of a change of things. If you go back to Schiano, I mean, the only thing you can say about Schiano is he was able to turn Rutgers into a competitive program and did it consistently throughout his reign there. But I don't know. It's one of those things where a guy has done some, I don't want to say unethical things, but just things that are a little icky in terms of things. But I don't know. It's really tough because, if you're Rutgers, if you go back to Schiano, you kind of go, well, we're back to some of the stuff we didn't like, but hey, we'll be competitive again. If you go to Al Golden, you could be a competitive program with Al Golden, and who knows what else more. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see how that kind of goes.
Well,
I'm not.
Oh, go ahead, Eric.
It's funny you brought that up as far as going back to a former coach. Similar scenario, kind of, sort of, but look at Louisville. They went back to Petrino after, his departure. So maybe, the Rutgers fan base is saying, you know what, we've seen our success under Schiano, and like you said, he didn't have that great of a tenure as far as off the field goes, but, those few years that Schiano was there, he had Rutgers relevant. So they may take a swing at him again. Never say never. When it comes to coaching and coaching hires and former coaches and all that type of stuff, never say never.
Never say never. I definitely always say that. The interesting thing, Jim was saying off the field, they don't have an AD. I always 100% think you should have an AD before you hire a coach. It's just stupid almost to me to hire somebody. I know some of the staff members that are there could still be retained on staff, but if you hire, it's happened at USC. I watched Pat Hayden didn't hire Lane Kiffin. Mike Garrett did. 6 days later, Mike Garrett was fired for Pat Hayden. He was pretty much stuck with Lane Kiffin at that point. He gets a bad rap for it, even though he didn't do that hire. He probably would have hired him anyway, but still, he didn't hire him. And people just say he hired him now at this point. So it could happen. That could happen. The Todd Graham hire was a hire that they made at Pittsburgh. He left the next year to Arizona State. So I don't like, messing around with no AD. Get the AD first. Take your time. Get the right guy. I don't think they'll go Schiano. The new AD is probably going to want to clean up that program after Kyle Flood just, kind of messed everything up. It got even worse from Schiano with all those things going on there. Al Golden is always he's barely had any arrest on his team or off the field issues, to be honest. Cleaned up Miami so well, highest GPA in school history for the football team while he was there. And that's what they need. It's a tough school to get into. It's a great school, a great tradition. Players got to stay out of trouble. So I think that's the guy you go with. I do want to give Jim Coburn a little credit because Nick Rolovich was hired by Hawaii and not Jim Jones. And we talked about it a few weeks ago. I think Twitter poll had 92% Jim Jones as getting hired, and they went Nick Rolovich, which, that was a good hire for Hawaii. Few are mad that they didn't hire Jim Jones, but I think Nick Rolovich is a young guy that's pretty innovative for himself. He's done a good job at Nevada, being an OC there with Polian. So I think that's a good hire for Hawaii. And there's still a few jobs out there, like we mentioned Missouri, with Coach Dykes possibly leaving. I don't know if he's going to leave for sure. I do know the players on the roster. They're practicing this week. They seem non-concerned about it when I asked them about if he was leaving or not. They were just happy to be in the bowl game, 7-5. That's all. No mention really of Coach Dykes leaving. But they've got to move on regardless, so I guess they're not too focused on that. And there's some rumors about the Webb City head coach as far as high school football making that jump to Missouri. I don't think that's going to happen. I know there's been a lot of success for high school coaches in college, but they've usually been coordinators first, not making the jump from head coach to high school, head coach to college. So I don't think that one will be stay true. Another rumor, going back to school up in Jersey, is that Greg Roman could be interested in that job. He is from New Jersey as well, and he also lives there too. So that would be a name if they don't get either of those guys. I think Shiano's willing to accept the job, but if they don't get those guys and they want to go NFL with some college experience and high school experience, obviously he's at Stanford, and he was coaching up in New Jersey in high school. That's where he started. Greg Roman would be a good third option. You're going to have to wait a little while, which a lot of teams don't want to wait. It's hard to wait with recruiting. Hugh Jackson was a guy USC was going to, give a go, but they don't want to wait for that either. And the last coaching job I'm going to talk about, actually, with Eric, before I let you go, is the USC head coaching job. Did they make the right hire? Did we make the right hire? Because I am a USC fan. But did we make the right hire? Because I like it, honestly. I like the hire because I know this is what the players wanted, and it was safe with me. I like Clay Helton. Seems like they've been playing so much better, and I think there's going to be some guys that stick around. There's not a lot of seniors on this team, so I think they'll keep a lot of underclassmen.
Yeah, and Helton was a shock to me. I'm going to be honest. It was. I didn't think they were going to retain him because the way that they didn't really try to retain Orgeron when he became the interim head coach a few seasons ago. I thought he was going to make a splash, big name. Like you said, they didn't want to wait, and when it comes to the big names that were out there, the Chip Kellys, the Hugh Jacksons, those were guys that they were probably going to have to wait until pretty much 2016 at least to get a contact up and get an interview going. But I was a little shocked by the Helton hire, but it may be a good thing for him,
Agreed. Jim, what about you? You're out in California. What are you hearing about that hire?
I like it. I think, there's a sense of, first of all, he did everything that we talked about this before, Donovan, a couple weeks past on the show, that he would have to show me something like, hey, you got the job, now show me something. Well, they're in the Pac-12 championship right now. So you showed me something, Helton. And if they win the Pac-12 championship, that'll speak volumes for the program as well. I know that there's some that go, well, he's whatever. There's lots of people who criticize the coach because of whatever reason. But I think from everything you've said, Dom, in terms of the recruits, in terms of getting the backing, and he's a different kind of coach as well. He's not he's more of a defensive-minded guy, which is something that USC hasn't exactly been trying to go, and that's probably a direction they might want to do a little bit more of, just because, we've talked about before in terms of linebackers, you guys haven't had good linebackers in a while. You haven't had really good defensive play in general in terms of how well you play defense. So I think Helton would be good from that kind of standpoint. And also, like you said, you keep the recruits there. Because there's probably a lot of recruits that were, hey, if you don't keep Helton, then probably going to go NFL now. So at least you keep some of those guys there. You have to keep some of the recruits that are coming in for the 2016 class. And I think it all works out for the best. They give him a 5-year deal, which is really big. I don't know. I understand that you got to make a deal to make a deal. 5 years seems like a little high. But, hey, if they really believe in him that much, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. That job is Clay's, man, and I'm happy. I saw the little thing they did in the locker room with Clay when he got announced for the job. I think Pat Hayden made a mistake, possibly not hiring Ed Orgeron the first time, so this time he didn't want to make that mistake again. And especially, like I said, with recruits, man, the guys coming in, they really did want, they wanted Sark to get well, first of all, but, he didn't. And, he got canned. And then, Clay Holton, they wanted him, and T. Martin and Marcus Silva and those guys to be on staff still. And I believe they will. I think there's going to be some adjustments to that staff. It's not going to look the same. I don't think Justin Wilcox will be there at the end of the year. But I do think that they're in the right direction. Regardless if they beat Stanford or not, I hope they do, of course. If be in the Rose Bowl, it'd be crazy. But, it's either Rose Bowl, I believe, or Las Vegas or something like that. So a huge difference. But I think they have a good shot to win the game. And we'll see, what happens. He's going to do a good job at keeping underclassmen. There's a lot of sophomore and freshmen on that team at the start. They started the most freshmen. True freshmen at any Power 5 school in the country. Most freshmen and sophomores in the Pac-12 starting this year. Most snaps as well. So, obviously, quarterback's going to change to Max Brown and Cody Kessler, which is going to be a pretty huge deal. There's some rumors about him transferring. He'll stay now. Sua is probably the big one. Up in the air, his father, Kevin, who, is pretty big in his life, is they'll think about it to the very end. That's a big football family. He's related to Troy Polamalu. That's his cousin on his mom's side. And on his dad's side, Jordan and Colby Cameron are his cousins as well. So, and he's really good friends with Matt Leinart as well. So he knows a lot of people. He'll get a lot of feedback back. And we'll see what happens with him. And, losing Anton Jackson, a couple, possibly Zach Banner, maybe. But there's some really good players coming back, especially on offense with Juju and Ndoye and all those guys. So I think they're on the right path to success. I'll say that. But, before I move on, I want Eric Robinson to tell everybody where they can follow him on Twitter.
Just got my updated Heisman rankings are up now on RSN. And
oh, gosh, yeah. Wait, before you go out, so sorry, man. The Heisman 5 I wanted. The Heisman 5. Who are your top 5 candidates for the people listening?
Top 5 right now. Well, first and foremost, I just want to say that this is probably going to be a pretty close race. Top 5 candidates right now are Henry at 1, Watson at 2, Dalvin Cook at 3, Ezekiel Elliott at 4, and Fournette at 5. Those are probably my top 5 right now. I think Mayfield has done enough the past 3 weeks to put his name in the conversation as well. But it's kind of hard to pick a favorite, honestly. It's going to be a close race. But if I had to put that title on someone as the favorite, I would say it's Henry, based on, the games he's had against the better competition lately.
Fair enough, man. That's my guy, too. That's my guy. I have winning the trophy as of now. We'll see how he plays versus Florida. I won't say I'm sure they'll win, but they're definitely the favorite. I'll give them, honestly, 10 points. I'd give them 9 points to win that game just because of the way Florida played. And their offense is just really bad right now. But, this guy he's getting better and better. He's quiet. You don't really hear Derrick Henry talking too much or trash talking. Just runs the football. He runs you over. He's too big, too strong, too fast, too everything.
He really, for defenses. I mean, like I said, look at the numbers he put up against LSU and Auburn and Mississippi State. Like he's punishing defenses. He really is. And he came on late, and he came on at the right time too.
He came on a perfect time. He went up against the leader at the time, which was Fournette, and outran him. And then that was the best game he had, possibly as a whole. But that game versus Auburn last week, man, he kept them. I mean, Coker played great too. He had that throw, and then that was pretty big on the scramble. But man, I mean, Derrick Henry ran so many times. He was like Eric Dixon or an old school back because he just kept getting the ball, kept getting the rock so many times. They've had a lot of running back issues at Alabama with backups, with injuries, and the transfers and things like that. So he's had to carry the load this year. A lot of production.
Yeah, he had 47 carries this past week, and that's a lot.
Wow, was it 47? Okay. Yeah, I knew it was up there, 38 to 48, somewhere around there. But, yeah, that's just insane this day and age. A lot of split backs and things like that. But he's carrying the load, man, like an old school back. So it's fun to watch. He's my number one guy, too. So, yeah, I had to get into that, of course. But, I mean, you running back heavy. You got Watson up there, though. So that's okay. But this is the year of the running back show.
And that's the thing. Like, I guess the perception as far as the Heisman goes, it's a quarterback favorite award, I guess, or it favors the quarterback. But I got Watson up there, and I think Watson is knocking on the door, honestly. I mean, he's been consistent all year. I pointed out a few weeks ago that the fact that he has, South Carolina, Wake Forest, and Syracuse in a 3-week span, he had a chance to pad those numbers a little bit, and that's what he did. So he's right there with Henry, in my opinion. Same with Dalvin Cook as well. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I dropped Boykin. He had a horrible finish to his season, especially with him getting hurt. I was kind of rooting for Corey Coleman, honestly. But when he got shut down by Kevin Peterson in Oklahoma State, that pretty much ended his chances right there. So Henry took it and ran with it.
He did. I think Corey Coleman will be on the ballot. He won't get a trip to New York, definitely not. But I think when that whole ballot gets released and you see the guys get 13 to whatever votes, he'll get some fourth place votes, I think. He'll be on the ballot possibly. Keenan Reynolds will be on the ballot. You didn't mention Christian McCaffrey, which I was surprised about. I didn't hear you mention McCaffrey. Why is he off the list? A lot of people have him at 1.
Well, the thing is, I've been doing some research as far as the Heisman go and all that type of stuff. The thing is, when you play on the West Coast, a lot of times it's not in your favor, especially when you're not the top-ranked team and you don't have a whole lot of national coverage. So McCaffrey has put up great numbers. He's put up Heisman-worthy numbers. But how many Stanford games has actually been nationally televised where people can get a chance to watch them? I mean, a lot of the games that come on, they're on at 10:30, 11 o'clock Eastern time, and nobody gets a chance to see what he does. And I think that hurts him in his favor. And with Corey Coleman, that's a position that doesn't have a whole lot of winners from, I think the last one was Desmond Howard, of course, and before that it was Tim Brown. So he had no room for error if he wanted to win the Heisman. Like, he could not get shut down at all, and he did, and it hurt him. It put a clamp in his chances.
Agreed. I just had to mention, I think he'll be in New York if they beat USC and he plays good. Does his all-purpose thing where he just does a little bit of everything. He'll be in New York. Yeah. I don't think he'll win unless he just goes off like he did on that Thursday night game where he had like 363 all-purpose yards and like 5 touchdowns. If he goes off on SC like that and Henry, only runs for like 90, 100 yards or so, then we're talking about possible, change. But yeah, he's in New York. I think he'll end up being third behind Watson and Henry. Because those guys have 2 championship games as well. And it probably even Mayfield would probably be 4th, to be honest, just because those guys have played so big in the 8 o'clock, 5 o'clock spot, and he's playing big at 11 or 1 in the morning on the East Coast. So that doesn't, go too well for McCaffrey. But, hey, McCaffrey's he's only a true sophomore, so he's a guy that's going to be back next year anyway. So he'll be on the preseason Heisman ballot and probably have a chance to win with Watson next year. So
yep, absolutely.
Number 5, he'll be okay. But yeah, like I said before, let the people know they can find and follow your work and what you've been up to.
Just been getting ready for the draft. Honestly, I mean, I'm still paying attention to games and stuff like that. But right now, I'm trying to get scouting reports out on RSEN and other websites. I just finished a scouting report on Ohio State Buckeye safety Von Bell. Have one up on RSEN already. Might want to go check that out on Jaron Kearse, Jeremy Cass, Deion Bush from Miami. So just getting ready for this draft, man. There's a lot of prospects to look at, and there's a lot of film to look at. So I'm trying to get an early start.
Yeah, I've checked out your work, man. The Jeremy Cass article was great. You did a good job on him, and I'll check the Kearse one out definitely right after the show. Thank you for coming on the show tonight, man. It's your first time. You did a great job, seasoned vet. I appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
All right, appreciate it. You guys take it easy.
Yeah, no problem. That was Eric Robinson of RSEN Sports. He's probably been my new favorite hire that we've had so far, so I had to get him on the show. He works for a few other websites too, like Bargain Dirty and I think football.com as well. But he does a really good job with college football, Heisman ranking, NFL draft, safeties, which is a tough position to scout in my opinion, sometimes anyway. But, yeah, his Heisman 7, he had a few candidates extra, but his ballot was good. I want to hear Jim Coburn's ballot, though. What's your Heisman 5 look like, and I guess your honorable mention as well?
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry, number one, he's just – it's been crazy what he's been able to do over the last couple of weeks. Got ridiculous amount of production, and it's been a change because, started slow at the beginning of the year and just caught fire, man. And it sucks because Fournette is different. Fournette was starting hot and then, unfortunately got into some games towards the end, like Alabama, where things just didn't turn out well. But, Henry's the number one. Christian McCaffrey, number two. I understand this probably won't happen. I mean, he's going to be – hopefully he is in New York, but he probably might not win. But he's been everything for Stanford in terms of being a rusher, special teams, just everything. He's been everything and in terms of leading all-purpose yards. So, I mean, he has to be on the list just because of all the stuff he's done there. Dalvin Cook is on there as well. He's had some injuries here and there, which kind of hurts him a little bit, but when he's been healthy, he's been extremely dynamic as a player. Ezekiel Elliott as well. When he's got the ball enough, he's been really dynamic as a runner. I think Ohio State, I know the criticisms, you shouldn't, go out in public and say, oh, give me the ball more type stuff, or they should have gave me the ball more, but at the same time, there were many games this year where I felt like, man, Ohio State, you guys should give them the ball more. So, yeah, there's kind of that going. And the only other guys I'll mention is in terms of defensive guys, which never get any love, never going to get invited at all, but I think definitely had really good years. I think Jalen Smith deserves to be mentioned this year. He's been a phenomenal solo tackler this year. Has played well. Has been kind of the heart and soul of that Notre Dame defense. Jeremy Cash as well, the safety that was just mentioned, has been phenomenal this year in terms of just being explosive, fast, attacking everything in the backfield. He's been one of the best strong safeties in all of college football this year. Kentrell Brothers at Missouri, the guy I don't think gets enough love and attention. He's a very explosive, I kind of nicknamed him Tigger because he plays like he has springs in his legs. He's just a bouncy, electric, explosive player that has done everything on that Missouri defense, man, in terms of putting himself in a position to make plays across that entire defense. He's been there. And Tyler Middekevich of Temple. He's another guy that doesn't play the Power 5, but has had a really good year this year to finish out his senior season and has made some big plays when it mattered most against big competition. Penn State game kind of comes by in terms of him getting some sacks on Hackenberg, which a lot of them got sacks, but he definitely helped in terms of stunts and stuff. But yeah, I mean, those are guys I mentioned. The number one guy is Derrick Henry. I think if Henry wasn't who he is in terms of being he's a top running back at Alabama who had a ridiculous season, who might end up having the most yards in SEC history. That's a lot for Christian McCaffrey to get over. So I also being from the West Coast, so I'm a big fan of McCaffrey. I think there's still more time to see what happens, but at least who I think is going to be there is Derrick Henry. At least who I think is probably going to win it at this point.
Right, I agree with you. I mean, it would take a lot for Derrick Henry to lose the Heisman. Honestly, it might take Alabama losing to Florida for him to possibly lose that trophy, and I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to be held under 100 yards. Florida's even great, especially their secondary, Marcus May and VH3, but I don't think that that will matter. The secondary guys, because their line's good too, no doubt, but I think Alabama and Ryan Kelly led up front. Those guys will do a good job at opening up holes for Henry like they've done all year. I don't see why it would stop now. So I think he'll win the Heisman. He's my number one guy. Baker Mayfield is number 2 right now, Oklahoma. I have McCaffrey 3rd. Obviously, Mayfield doesn't have a game this week, so that's probably going to hurt him because Watson, McCaffrey, Henry, those guys do. Elliott's 4th. He doesn't have a game either. I think those 5 guys should go. Honestly, it's hard not to put Fournette in New York. Yeah, he didn't play the greatest for that 3-week stretch. He had a good game last week, though, versus A&M. Maybe enough people saw that game for him to get into New York. And, he's still, second in the SEC in rushing. He's top 10, I believe, in the country. So it's not like he had a bad year at all. He just kind of team fell off at the end. But Keenan Reynolds is a guy that deserves some credit. A senior, one of the only seniors probably on the whole list. A lot of underclassmen this year. Alex Collins, because the way he's been playing at the end of the year has been great. He's one of the top running backs in the country. The last 2 guys are just, they're, like I said, 4, 5 guys going to get there. But I really think Brandon Doughty of Western Kentucky deserves some consideration for the numbers he's put up consistently. Honestly, for the past, 2 years. I know it's not a Lifetime Achievement Award, but sometimes it is a little bit. It helps. He's done a really good job this year. Obviously he's coming from a really small school, but doesn't have too much hype. He has a conference championship game, too. And he didn't play bad versus LSU this year, so that could probably help him out. Maybe he'll get on the ballot. Corey Coleman, like I said, mentioned Eric earlier, probably on the ballot. Chad Kelly, he's actually ended up having a really good season. It's weird because he's played bad at times, but the past 4 weeks he's been by far the best quarterback in the SEC and one of the best in the country. To be honest, his stats are pretty solid. He's calmed down with the turnovers a lot. He's a guy that Ole Miss beat Alabama too, so that's gonna help him out. They beat the brakes off of the Bulldogs, Mississippi State, at the end of the season, where he ran the ball well, threw the ball well. So I gotta give him a little love. There's some other guys like Jared Goff had a good season. I know he's probably not gonna be on the ballot, and Juju Smith-Schuster, and a few others. Trayvon Boykin. Dalvin Cook, I didn't even mention him. I'm so sorry, but there's just a lot of good guys, a lot of good candidates this year. If Vernon Adams was healthy the whole season, Jim, he might have been in New York, because he's playing really good right now. Greg Ward Jr. is another guy that's been playing really good this year as well. And your defensive guys you named are definitely guys that deserve to be in consideration, at least for the defensive player of the year. Even Paxton Lynch out of Memphis. He could have been in New York if they went undefeated possibly, but, they hicked up a little bit. But he played pretty good this year as well. So there's a few good candidates, man. I mean, it sucks that Nick Chubb went down because I think he would have been in New York too. But, he went down early in the season, so it opened it up for a lot of other guys. We'll see, though. These guys are playing in some big games this week. So a lot of things can change still. But, we'll move on from we're going to move on. One more question for Jim. Derrick Henry as an NFL prospect, we know what he was out of high school, 5-star guy, is the 6th player in the country. Obviously, probably on the Heisman Trophy next week. Is he a first-round pick in the NFL?
To be decided. I think – he's going to be. That's a given, in my opinion. He's huge. I think the thing with Henry that will turn NFL guys off is only because he's one of the biggest running backs that the NFL's ever had. And it's not a joke when I say that. There's not a lot of 6'3", 245-pound running backs running around the NFL. It's a unique body type. He looks like a H-back tight end, playing. So, NFL people may be prejudiced against that. They may not. I don't know. I don't talk to them. I just know how they sometimes feel about certain players. But, and also at the Combine will also be huge in terms of a lot of different things as well. And the medical too, because, saving guys usually have injury here and there that they pick up. And when you're Henry, when you're that big, something got hit a lot. So there's going to be that sort of thing to it as well. But yeah, I think he'll be a first rounder. I think the combine will also kind of help that cause if he does well in in various drills and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's an interesting situation because he's such a unique player that we haven't seen in a while. There's no readily, hey, he's this guy. The NFL is a lot about checking off the boxes with guys and going, hey, he's the next this, he's the next that. Who is Derrick Henry? He's the next what? Most people can't really give you an answer because there hasn't been a guy like him.
Most people will go back, I feel like, to O.J. Simpson or Eric Dickerson. I know Eric made a slight comparison to Eric Dickerson, not full on. I know Eric's a younger guy too, so they probably didn't see Eric Dickerson. I know he did. I know Eric's about my age, but
keep in mind, when I was going through comparisons and stuff and looking for running backs and going through time, I was looking at 6'3" running backs specifically. And when I saw Eric Dickerson play in the Los Angeles Rams, and I went back and watched I even watched some of his play at SMU even. Very similar running style. Very similar in terms of when you watch Eric Dickerson play and you watch Derrick Henry play, there's certain runs where they look almost identical in terms of their movement ability. They're just their style of play. They're upright runners who just they get the ball and go. There's no dancing. There's no spin moves. There's no there's none of that stuff. It's just hitting the hole and going. 100 miles per hour, however fast they can go. I would say that Dickerson's faster than him. That was the only issue that I didn't want to go on Twitter and go, he's Eric Dickerson, but because Dickerson was a little bit faster, he just had a little bit more balance to him. But that running style, just that style of play, it looks like Eric Dickerson. So I wouldn't be surprised if he, did that. But a much larger Eric Dickerson. We're talking about Eric Dickerson that put on 20 pounds of muscle, 40 pounds of muscle type of comparison. Because Derrick Henry, he's big, but he's not fat, man. He's just a solid piece of guy.
No. Yeah, but if they didn't ban the halter top thing or whatever, that Zeke Henry and all those guys do, you probably see, he's definitely a cut-up guy. He's chiseled, man. He's always been big. Like I said, we talked about Derrick Henry high school and how big he was. 6'3", 232 pounds is what he weighed in at the Nike opening at the combine there. So, he's what, I don't know. There's different things about him. 250 pounds, 260. I don't know exactly how big he is. I know he's 6'3", 242. So I have him at. But, yeah, he's huge. He's a monster. I think that he's his 40 time and, shuttle drill are going to be pretty big if he can catch the ball back so well. But I think he'll be at least a late to early first-round pick if nothing happens in the offseason with him, off the field, which he seems like a pretty good guy character-wise. Before we move on to the 2010 recruiting class, I'm going to actually open up the mailbox early this time and not do it at the end of the show. 2 questions. You probably know this guy, Jim. Will Stevenson is draft Marvel, I believe, on Twitter. He had a question about a guy I just talked about, actually, Chad Kelly. Now I'll let you answer this one first. What round grade do you give Chad Kelly right now? He's only a junior, but there has been a lot of rumors about him not coming back to Ole Miss next year.
If he comes out, he's pretty much day 3 for the most part, which is a very ubiquitous term, of course, but I don't really see the consistent accuracy with him or decision making of a guy that is going to be a guy who can start immediately. He does have some interesting tools, but you also have to add in the sort of character stuff as well, let's be honest. I know that was a while ago, but it did happen, and NFL teams pay attention to that kind of stuff. But just based on his play and based on the other sort of stuff that might come out during the process, I'd say most likely if he was to come out, it'd be day 3. He would be one of those guys that a team drafts and develops them because of wanting to develop one thing here or there type of thing with him. But he could just as easily go on, undrafted too, which is always a risk, but it could happen. I mean, there was guys last year that people thought were going to get drafted at quarterback and didn't get drafted. So my best advice to him would be stay in school. But if he really wants to come out, then the highest I could see him going is day 3.
Yeah, day 3 is kind of what I'm getting, like a 4th to 5th round vibe. This quarterback class isn't great to me, and I love me some quarterbacks. Don't get me wrong, but I usually put them a little too high sometimes, bump them up. But I don't like this quarterback class too much as far as overall depth, and then I think there's some really good guys at the top, Lynch and Goff and guys like that, and Connor Cook. Those are my 3 guys. But as far as the drop-off after that, it's a pretty big drop-off. I mean, mentioned on the show a couple weeks ago with you, I believe, that not on this show, but your show, I think there was a lot of seniors in this class. Not a lot of underclassmen are going to come out. I think the only guys I know for sure are going to come out, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure, it's Paxton Lynch with his coach lately and then Jared Goff. Either way, if Sonny Dykes stays or not, I think he's gone. So this will be interesting because he's underclassman. He's a junior, he's a redshirt junior. Off the field stuff, yeah, he's had a couple incidents. And not even that, man, his attitude a little bit. I don't know about now, but I heard, that he gets when he gets mad, he gets really mad. Yeah, he's got some anger maybe problems, anger problems. Maybe it's changed now. It's been a couple of years. I know Tom Rinaldi did a really good piece on him early in the season when they played Alabama. And, he's trying to change his life around. He's done a really good job. Obviously, his uncle was Jim Kelly. That helped him a lot. Yeah, it should have taken cancer with your uncle to help, but it kind of helped him see the light a little bit. And then being at a junior college, small JC, and then, kind of having a redemption helped him too. But as far as, just straight NFL draft talk, a guy called B-Bam, or Barrett, out in Ole Miss, he does write for their student paper, and he's had some chances to talk, to some people, and Chad Kelly. He wants a day 2 or day 1 grade for him to come out. That's the kind of buzz. And I don't know if he'll get that from scouts. He could. He's not a big guy, so that's not going to help him. He's 6'2", about 218. True. He can run a little bit. I kind of get the feel, I'm not making this comparison, but this is what I get the feel about listening to people talk. Brett Hundley. Different paths, of course, but Brett Hundley came on early. Brett Hundley started for 3 years, though. I want to get that straight. He started every game, I think, for 3 years in a row.
Oh, yeah, he's much more experienced. Even
Chad,
better, as an athlete as well. But the other thing too, the only similar numbers, but the only thing I'd say is to the day 1, day 2 talk from the advisory is to warn people, I guess, that there have been guys who have gotten day 1, day 2 grades and ended up going undrafted. So, just because you get a day 2 grade, just because you get a day 1 grade, doesn't guarantee anything. There's tons of guys that got grades, they got a 3rd round grade, or they got a 4th round grade, or they got a 2nd round grade, and they ended up, one good example I think is, remember the USC linebacker who came out? I forgot his name, but he was like safety / sort of coverage.
Was it Deion Bailey?
Yeah, Deion Bailey. And
he got
didn't he receive like a 2nd round grade?
Yep.
Yes, 2nd round grade. Where'd he go? And where'd he go?
I believe he was a 6th round pick, right?
Somewhere around there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
6th round. He was a 6th round pick.
So it's not a guarantee. I mean, there you go. A guy like Deion Bailey got a 2nd round grade, ends up going in the 6th round.
With no character issues, too.
With no character issues.
Exactly. And no injury. He had injuries in his career, but he was never injured during that process, or he didn't have any character issues. And Chad Kelly, no injuries, but like I said, the character issues are there. He, just has to control his temper. It seemed like he did on the sideline, when he made mistakes and interceptions. He wasn't going crazy or anything, but he's a guy that has kind of a good poise and a good arm strength, and he's a better athlete than I thought. He's a pretty good runner. I mean, he's ran for a lot of yards. He's first team All-SEC quarterback, so he's kind of been boom for them this year. He got good fast basically, but you got Treadwell and Tunsil and those guys helping out. So Cody Core, Evan Graham, those guys help. So we'll see. I know the Brett Hundley comparisons, like I said, are made. Brett Hundley was a guy that was supposed to go a lot higher. He was supposed to be possibly, a second-round, third-round pick, and he kind of dropped. He was in a pretty good situation, but we'll see. If I was Chad Kelly, I'd probably stay. I know he's going to lose a lot of those guys, though. That's probably a big reason he might leave is because of that. But I guess to answer draft model question, you say day 3, I say same. I think he could sneak into the late third round, but I'd have him as a fourth-round grade right now from what I've seen so far. And he could be, a second-round pick. I don't think he'll ever be a first-round guy, in my opinion, but we'll see. He's got a whole another year left, and he's got a bowl game, too. Another question is from NFL Draft Nick is that I guess this is for me, or you can answer too, Jim, of course. Which freshman, true freshman, is the closest to being an NFL prospect? Obviously, Josh Rosen would be in the top, and there's a couple guys, man. Christian Kirk, but Mitch Hyatt would be number one. I think Mitch Hyatt would be. I don't know what his grade would be because he's only had 1 year tape. I mean, just like Jack Kelly, I guess, too. But Mitch Hyatt's done a really good job, man. He's not as big as he should be yet. He's only 286. But I think if there's one guy that's close to playing in the NFL as a true freshman, it would be Mitch Hyatt or Josh Rosen, Christian Kirk, or Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley, I mean, he's done a really good job this year. I know he's older than everybody, so that helps him out. But Mitch Hyatt's only 18. He's got a long way to go, but he looks like a first overall pick type of guy right now. And so does Josh Rosen. He got banged up a little bit and had a bad game with USC. I think he's definitely been one of the best players all year. Is there a guy you want to throw out there, Jim, for that? I mean, I think there's about 6 guys maybe, that could play, that would get drafted that are true freshmen. That's about it.
Oh, yeah. I think, just to mention a few, Josh Rosen definitely would be kind of one of those guys. Christian Kirk is there. Malik Jefferson from Texas is a fully formed guy with a lot of different things to see develop there. Another guy in particular that I've been a big fan of watching this year at Kansas is I know it's funny, it's Kansas, but I'm really a big fan of Tyrone Miller Jr. as well, the cornerback at Kansas. I know it's been a long year, but he's been one of their better players who's really kind of come on this year. I think he could make the jump pretty well. But, other than that, that's about it. I know there's a basketball approach when it comes to football, which I don't like, it's because I think that guys need time to develop, especially physically, especially like Josh Rosen. He's a guy that could add some more pounds, get a little thicker and, a little stronger, and even Christian Kirk and other guys. But at least the guys that I see being able to contribute at the next level right now, it'd be Jefferson, Henry, Josh Rosen, and Christian Kirk.
Right, yeah, it's always a fun question for us recruiting guys. We talked about it a little bit in summer camps, kind of the what-if card, because basketball and baseball have that, and hockey. Connor McDavid was the number 1 overall draft pick at, I believe he was 19, out of Canada. And, the number 1 player out of high school this year was Brady Aiken. He was an 18-year-old kid. It's LeBron. You see all the basketball players. It usually works out. Sometimes it doesn't. NFL's a different beast, a different animal and everything. But it'd be interesting to see where some of these guys would get picked if they were, able to come out. Guys out of high school is different. I'm not going to say guys out of high school, but guys with 1 year of experience. I mean, it could happen one day. Probably not, because NFL is really strict about that. But, I think those guys that we mentioned are pretty good players. And there's a few other quarterbacks out there. Quarterbacks, tough positions to transfer or go up to the NFL and play. So then these guys will have to wait, a little bit, a couple of years. But, there's a few good ones. But I'm going to get into the 2010 recruiting class. 2010 recruiting class was really good, looking at it. It was a deep recruiting class, possibly the deepest, since I've gone through the Rivals classes, the Rivals 250, 100, possibly the deepest. The number one player in the class that year was Mr. Centrell Henderson, who's had a very up-and-down career. I'll say that for sure. I want to start off with him, actually, because Centrell Henderson was the guy that was supposed to go to SC, but the sanctions came down that year, and, he made his way to Miami. He had a lot of issues there with Wade and just being disciplined, showing up to practice late. And now he's done a pretty solid job in the NFL. I mean, he fell in the draft a lot from where he was supposed to be. A lot of Tom Lemming, who was kind of the recruiting god, called him, kind of Jonathan Ogden, basically, junior. And he's not that, of course, but he's okay. He's pretty good. What do you think about Centrell Henderson, Jim?
He was the guy that I actually met at the Senior Bowl, and he was a guy that just didn't want to be there, and there's guys that are like that, of course, guys that just don't want to be there, but he really just didn't want to have anything to do with, the sort of meeting people and stuff like that. And I always got the sense with him that he was a guy that, even though he was a highly touted high school recruit and everybody was saying he's the next Orlando Pace or he's the next this or he's the next that, at some point things change. Guys grow up a little bit more and their priorities change, or they decide, I don't really want to I don't really like football that much, but the difference is that you're pressured to be it because of, you're really big or whatever, so you must be this because you fit profile of this. I'm not 100% sure if that's really what happened with Chandra Henderson, but I just got a big sense that he was a guy that just didn't like football 100%, and it showed up, in terms of lacking intensity and, passion for the game, stuff like that. And it's not that I fault him. I know a lot of people would go, oh, that's a shame. No. If what you want to do in life is what you want to do in life. I support a guy, whatever he wants to do. I support a guy, even if he is a guy that's as big as he is. But so far he's been a little bit of a success story. I mean, when you think about the Bills draft, they drafted not Cyril Richardson. Oh, actually, they did draft Cyril Richardson, but they also drafted Cyrus Kwanjo and in the second round, and Chandra Henderson. And Henderson ended up being the starter because Kwanjo, mainly because of injuries and which major knee injuries that were kind of overlooked during the draft process. But Henderson was able to play well. I still think he has the ability to be a starting tackle. He always had that ability, even at Miami. But it's all really up to him. If he wants to play football, if he has you can't play in the NFL. You can for a little bit, but you can't play for 10-plus years in the NFL without having a passion for it, a drive for it, a determination for it. And that was the only thing I ever had question marks about Henderson with was, his dedication, his drive, his wanting to be a football player, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Can you get up every day, and you got to breathe? Like Bill Carroll was here to tell you, everything's got to be football. Everything's got to be football. And Chandra Henderson, 6'7", and 45-pound guy out of high school. Actually, Jim, funny, last guy to win Gatorade Player of the Year as an offensive lineman. That's how good he was. They won 2 state championships over Minnesota. He actually has him in the top 10 in the nation too. He was a good basketball player too. He was legit basketball player. I mean, he could have played basketball if he lost a little bit of weight, and wanted to play power forward for school. But he was, great. But he's still getting better. If he wants to do it, he can do it. We'll see. Ronald Powell was number 2. Moreno Valley, Rancho Verde, California. Him and Tyron Smith were, elite. They kind of set, the trend for kids going to Moreno Valley out in California, or Rancho Verde, excuse me, to all, American guys, U.S. Army All-American guys. He's MVP of the thing, actually. And he was the number 2 player in the country that year. Kyle Prater ended up going to USC for a little bit and then going to Northwestern, number 3. Sharif Floyd, number 4. Keenan Allen, my guy, who I liked a lot, was number 5. Robert Woods is number 6. Woods is an athlete here. Play receiver, that's there, but he played safety as well. Dominique Easley. Yeah, Florida did a really good job at getting linemen, as you can tell. And number 7, Double O. Still don't really know how to pronounce his name, but the guy from UCLA, he's number 8. Had a crazy career up at Douglas High School in Portland. Started all 4 years, broke all type of records for the state. Derek Rogers, Georgia, went to Tennessee for college. A guy that we all kind of wanted to be good in the NFL, I feel like, but just never kind of made it. He was number 9. And Marcus Lattimore was number 10. So as you can see, a lot of these guys are still in the NFL. Most of them are. They're young. Marcus Lattimore is not, though, sadly. Too many knee injuries. Let me ask you, Jim, if Marcus Lattimore didn't have his knee injuries, what kind of running back could he have been? Who you compare him to coming out of South Carolina?
In terms of what he could have been, he, surprisingly, he did have preliminary testing, and he didn't test that bad for a guy with knees falling off, parts, stuff like that. He tested very similar to guys like Melvin Gordon, like Sean Foster, like James Starks. I think he would have been a very, very good running back if he was able to stay healthy. The guy had vision, had a little extra pop of power, could catch the football a little bit as well. Could have been a premier back. Could have possibly been a Pro Bowler, multiple times. But unfortunately, knees got taken out, man. And there hasn't been as gruesome of. There's been other knee injuries that have happened, but the thing about Lattimore's injuries to his knees was just his reaction after them. Especially after the second one, where you go to South Carolina and it's dead silent because this is a guy that's fighting to get on the field and putting everything he's got into it, and then boom, it's gone again. And that's the only thing that sucks about it. And it's part of the game. Injuries happen. Unfortunately for him, he got the bite 2 times, which is crazy. To have 2 major knee injuries to both knees. But it's a shame he wasn't able to fully recover and able to play. But I think he would have been really good. I think he would have been somebody that would have become a team's primary back and would have had a nice nice little career if he hadn't have had all the knee injuries.
Yeah, I agree. It's sad to see a guy get taken away from injury. Nothing he could do about that. It sounds like he knew, even when he got drafted, that he was pretty much done with being a premier back, in football, which is sad, But hey, he'll always be, he's Mr. South Carolina, all SEC guy. He was on the Heisman ballot. He did a lot, for that school and that state. So, he's a guy that I wish he had a chance, man. He was almost a complete back. Not perfect, but he did a little bit of everything for you. He could block pretty well, catch the ball by solo and everything. So we'll move on. Another running back that was behind him was Michael Dyer at Arkansas. Went to Auburn, though, of course, and went to a few schools. Allen was all schools he went to, but went to a lot of schools. Ended up at Louisville, but he had a nice little solid career. Jackson Jeffcoat comes in behind him. Jordan Hicks was in that class. Dylan Baxter didn't work out at all. Obviously, a lot of off the field stuff, and had his chances, but didn't work out too well. Spencer Ware, Christian Jones, William Golston, Sean Coleman, who's still at Auburn, actually. He's one of the guys that's sixth-year senior. Marquise Ambles, Matt Elam done a really good job. He's injured right now, but I think he's going to be a really good player. George Yuko, Josh Shaw. Florida killed it. Florida killed it with his class. They did a really good job. James Hurst was in this class, the top guy. Mike Davis, the receiver. Cassius Marsh. Corey Lemire, I believe is how you say his last name. Kevin Jackson in this class. Luke Jokel was the number 39 player, according to Rivals.com, in this class. I want to talk about Luke Jokel a little bit. He was a guy that I thought should have been – I had him as the number one overall player the year he got drafted. That was not a great draft class. His career isn't great so far, but I think he's getting better. What do you think about Luke Jokel? Because I had him as kind of I thought he could be a Pro Bowl guy maybe 4 or 5 times and have a really long, solid career. Do you still think he can do that?
Well, first, he has to stay healthy. 2, he was out of the process that had limitations. I'm not going to lie about that. He was a guy that, based on athletic testing and everything else, tested closer to a right tackle type of player. Brino, Giacomini, kind of one of those guys, or maybe Mark Colombo, if you remember him. He was on the Cowboys.
Yeah, I do.
He tests kind of similar to those guys. But, he was a guy that he had, below average explosiveness, below average speed, had decent dynamic speed, but the injuries piled up, all that kind of stuff. And there's something to be said about, and this is something that I've talked about a few people about when it comes to offensive line play, that a lot of people make the excuse of, well, he's only pass protecting, but he doesn't run block that much. But hey, pass protecting is the most important part of football, so he'll be fine. He just has to learn how to run block. And I think there's something to be said that the opposite needs to be the case. Not all the time, but you need to find guys that excel in both. And the only thing I could say about Jokel is coming out is that he wasn't the most dominant finisher when it came to run blocking. It was something he kind of struggled with, and that's something he's had the most issues with at the NFL level. It's the same issue that Eric Fisher had. Eric Fisher's tape was him pass protecting a lot and then kind of casually run blocking on occasion, and a lot of people don't talk about it, but his biggest issues he's been worse, in run blocking than he has again as a pass protector. And I just think that Jokel might just be a case of a guy where you need to evaluate offensive linemen in every facet of the game. And because a lot of times being a good run blocker, the traits that make you a good run blocker in terms of timing and having the athleticism to get out there and move people can help you as a pass protector. And I just think when it comes to Jokel, that's the only thing is it was just a combination of just athletic ability. The injuries obviously piled up. I'm not saying he's going to be a bust at all, but he is somebody that I felt like was probably a little overdrafted based on his athletic ability, and also just based on the fact that, again, on tape he wasn't a complete offensive tackle, just based on, at least to me. I know people might disagree, but I didn't see him as a guy that was elite in every facet of the game.
Yeah, fair enough. I know I thought he was elite, and maybe I probably missed a little bit on him. I know that he wasn't a great run blocker. I thought he could develop into one while I was hearing. Definitely, the best pass blocker in that class to me. But we'll see. He's got to stay healthy for one. Availability's got to be there for him. Behind him is Alec Ogletree, a guy that I like a lot coming out. actually. When he was a DB out of Newnan, Georgia, he's kind of a strong safety, linebacker, hybrid guy. He's turned into one of the really good linebackers at Georgia and in the NFL right now. He's young still, but I think he'll do a really good job. Jeff Luke comes in after him. Chaz Green, Silas Red is another name that's on there. Jalen Watkins. Well, I'm going to talk about another Texas A&M guy, Jim. If you don't mind, we're going to go a little Aggie. Because another guy that was in that class is another left tackle that I liked a lot. I liked him. I thought he could be not a Hall of Fame type player, but all pro pretty much every year type player, and possibly maybe be in the Hall of Fame. Is Jake Matthews from Texas A&M, another left tackle. He was in this class as well with his buddy Luke Jokel. What do you think about Jake Matthews so far in his NFL career?
He's been good. He's been one of the tackles that actually worked out. I think that tackle class is a little underrated. Greg Robinson has turned out to be, at least as a run blocker, it's really excelled in that sort of facet of his game. Matthews has done really well as a pass protector, and also helped that Calkins offense in terms of the zone blocking scheme that they did, which is very similar to what he was doing at Texas A&M. Taylor Lewan, of course, has been doing his thing on the Titans, performing well there. But yeah, Jake Matthews he's turned out pretty well. I think that I don't think he's going to be the greatest ever or anything like that, but he's definitely proven to be a really good left tackle for them, and we'll just see what happens next. But he's worked out so far in the past 2 years.
Yeah, he worked out. I hope he gets some All-Pro consideration for the years to come, so I can look a little better. Comparing him to the greats when he came out of high school and college. He was a center early on in his career in high school at Elkins, and he moved to right tackle and moved to left tackle. He played pretty much everywhere. He always played right tackle at A&M, then left too. So I don't know. I like his brother too, Mike Matthews. Next year in the NFL center, he's a good player. So Matthews' family keeps producing guys. He's really good. 49 is Karari Fort, Penn State. Anthony Barr was listed as an athlete here. A lot of these West Coast guys in this class are athletes, so he's pretty good. He's struggled a little bit this year, and has had some injuries, but he's pretty good so far. Xavier Grimble out of Bishop Gorman. Oh man, I thought he was he's the perfect prototype for tight end. He's got speed, he can block. He's was 6'6", 245 pounds when he was coming out of Bishop Gorman. We wish we had Ryan on here to talk about him because he's seen him play for sure. But he struggled at SC. They've had struggles with tight ends. I don't know what it is lately, but they've had struggles with tight ends. He is still on the NFL roster. He got drafted surprisingly, so we'll see what his career is. It's definitely we don't know what it is right now. Brennan Clay. There's another guy on the list, Jawan James, C.J. Mosley, who I think he just got released today, if I'm not mistaken, right? Not C.J. Mosley, sorry. Injured? Is C.J. Mosley injured right now? Or is he playing?
I think he's been battling injuries. I'm not 100% sure if he's back healthy yet, though.
Okay. Braylon Hurd is another guy. He was actually coming to Nebraska. Ended up going to Kentucky. Playing running back. Andrew Norwell, Victor Hampton, guy I liked a lot. It didn't really work out too well. Never really grew too much either. Christian Green, Florida State. Tony Jefferson, Oklahoma. Jake Heaps was in this class. And I'm going to stop and talk about Jake Heaps a little bit. I know Phillip Sims is right after him. The other Phillip Sims, the quarterback that was Oscar Smith from Virginia. Went to Alabama for a little bit and transferred, who's actually on the roster still right now, so that's great for him. Jake Heaps, not NFL success, obviously, but, I'm sure you watched Jake Heaps in college. What kind of went wrong for Jake Heaps? He was the number one quarterback in the class by 2010, which wasn't known for quarterbacks. It wasn't a good quarterback class, but he was the number one guy. He was compared to Drew Brees a lot because of the size and quick release. What happened to him at Kansas and BYU? And Miami, I guess, too.
He's Jake Heaps. I mean,
did you ever see the?
I never got the Drew Brees comparisons. Now again, I haven't been following him since high school. I mainly just watch college players, but he's a guy that at Kansas was terribly inefficient. I'd say clueless, but just there were times where he was doing things that I honestly felt like he didn't 100% know what was going on. Now, of course, some people could say, well, it's Kansas, and their offense was dysfunctional, which I agree with. I mean, multiple parts of that offense were to blame for many different things, but there was just a lack of awareness, a lack of consistent accuracy. Didn't have the greatest arm, didn't have the greatest accuracy. Obviously he was at BLE for a minute, and then he left, and he went to Kansas, and then he went to Miami. And that didn't really go well in terms of fight for a job there, 100%. But he just kind of turned into a journeyman quarterback, and then that's it. Didn't really find solid success anywhere, and didn't really work out. Didn't really do much in the NFL either. So.
Yeah, he did. I never bothered Drew Brees comparison, especially for a guy coming out of high school. But Drew Brees was I think Super Bowl winning quarterback at that time, and kind of like redeemed himself. So a lot of the shorter quarterbacks were compared to him, which is understandable. That happened all the time. He had some good qualities about him at Skyline High School in Washington. Obviously, he was a State Player of the Year, runner-up the year before that. I think he was nominated 3 times. He was in the top 5. He was All-American. And when he was at BYU, there was a lot of controversy going on. A lot of people thought he should have gone to BYU. A lot of people thought he was going to go on his mission. He was well-traveled, like you said, Miami, Kansas. Never had a shot. He looked pretty good, according to Montel Hardy, at his pro day and I think a workout in Chicago. I think he got brought into a camp by a couple teams, but, it didn't work out for him. It's, pretty much what you said. He just didn't have it. He wasn't the player we thought he was going to be. Actually, he also wasn't as big. He ended up being about 6'1", about 209 pounds. I know he was listed at 6'2". Never really was 6'2", apparently. So that kind of hurt him a little bit too. But he didn't work out too well, for sure. Cord Miller, another guy didn't work out too well. That's on this list. Just going through some names. DeAndre White, Alabama, is on this list. Justin Hunter, out of Ocean Lakes. He's had an interesting career. I'll say that. The tall, skinny, lanky one. It was compared to Randy Moss a lot coming out, and he hasn't worked out too well so far in the NFL. I like Justin Hunter and Derek Rogers a lot. Tennessee had some good receivers, coming out of high school, but neither of them really panned out too well. Actually, Cordell Patterson is the best one of all of them. He wasn't as highly recruited as these guys. Bronson Kafusi is one of the only players that's still in college on this list. He went on one mission. He didn't play most of the senior season, but he's still Under Armour All-American. I want to ask you, because this class is a little weird. Like, there's guys in the NFL. There's already guys that are pretty good. There's some guys that are TBA. And there's guys still in college. I want to ask you about Bronson Kafusi. He's kind of had a little bit of a disappointing year so far. But what round grade do you give Bronson Kafusi from BYU?
I have him kind of day 3 area. He's a guy. He has size, but he isn't incredibly athletic. He has. I don't know. He's a guy that he's sort of productive, not really like incredibly productive during his time there. He also is pretty old as well. But some of that has to do with him playing where he's playing, of course, because of the missions and stuff like that. But, he's been there since he's 2010.
He is.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see his name when I went through earlier, Jim, actually, because, all these guys, Sean Coleman has different, he had some off-field stuff and injuries, so he had redshirted. I know he's a little bit older too, but Bronson was not only out for 2 years for more missions, also redshirted. So he'll be 26, I believe, next year. Or 26 or late 25 when he gets drafted.
Yeah, I mean, I see him as a guy who, he may even be undrafted, but it just depends on, what happens. But I mean, he's a solid player, but I just don't see a ton of things that jump out to me that he's going to be better than what he could potentially be right now. And a lot of times the NFL is a lot about that. A lot about, people being, upside, stuff like that. And not a lot of things jump out to you that he's going to be this monster of a player other than a very good player.
Agreed. He's probably the player that had my preseason top 50 prospects that has dropped the most. He was in my preseason top 50. He's definitely dropped. Just hasn't had a good year. He got exposed. He hasn't had a bad year by any means, but he's not great at stopping the run. He's really only good at pass. His height is great. He doesn't have long arms though. He's just tall. He does play basketball for BYU, which probably helps him out a little bit. But I don't think that we'll see. He'll be a Senior Bowl guy. He'll be down there in probably Mobile, I'm sure. He's a likable guy. He's going to do really good with the questions and talking to GMs and scouts and stuff like that. So we'll see. I think he's probably, fourth, fifth round type of guy right now. A lot of, still guys on this list. Marquise Flowers, Jacquet Smith on this list, Joe Christian, Cedric Ojibwe. Is that how you pronounce his last name? Ojibwe? I forgot, man. It's been a long time since the draft. Cedric Texas A&M.
Oh yeah, I think it's Obue. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Allen, Texas. He kind of
or Obue or Obue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, Texas A&M, 3 guys, man, in the first round in one class is pretty good. Now are they going to be good in the NFL? I'm not sure, but they did their job. Someone, and at the time it was so Kingsbury was a recruiting coordinator and offensive coordinator. They did this class, and you can see what type of impact he made recruiting because it was named off 3 of their top linemen. I mean, Matthews is supposed to be a center. He ended up being an All-American left tackle, so they did a really good job. And Cedric was, he did a really good job versus Ronald Powell in the Army All-American game. That's where he kind of had a name for himself late, and he moved up a lot in the final rankings. Martavius Bryant was another good receiver from this class. A lot of tall, lanky type receivers in this class. Lewis Nix of Notre Dame was in this class. Matt James was in this class. Malcolm Jones out of UCLA, Westlake Village kid, was there too. Eric Reed, LSU. Kelsey Quarles, and Deion Bailey, who you mentioned earlier, actually. I forgot that he was in this class, but he was. Roy Finch, Leon Orr, and Demetrius Wright ran out the top 100. Just a few, try to get these things quickly. It's a deep class, like I said, so I kind of pulled a lot more names than I normally do from these classes. Jordan James, Dietrich Riley, another guy that Dietrich Riley didn't get injured out of UCLA. I think he had a career-ending injury, so he never got a chance to play at UCLA. He could have been a really good corner, free safety type of guy. Kind of reminded me of Demarius Randall, except he's a little bit taller than him, maybe by a couple inches, just definitely longer arms. But he kind of reminded me of him. He could do a lot. But, the injuries happened, so he wasn't able to play. Nickel Roby, small guy, but tough DB in his class. Connor Wood, Philip Sims, both of them really work out at their schools at all. Like I said, this isn't a good quarterback class at all, really. Ari Kouandjo out of DeMatha Catholic did a pretty good job at Alabama. He's in the NFL now. Brett Nottingham, another guy, transferred out. He was at Stanford in Danville, California, Monte Vista High School, and he ended up at Columbia. Just too many injuries. Too many injuries, man. Too many head injuries. Lyndon Trail out of Booker T. Washington was actually at Florida. And where did he end up, Jim? Lyndon Trail was at Norfolk State?
Yeah, Norfolk State, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. What do you think about him as a guy? I mean, I don't know how high you had him. We talked to him last year on Bill Carroll and your show. What do you think about him? Does he have a chance to be a starter in the NFL? I haven't kept up with how he's doing so far.
I mean, he always had a shot to be a contributor and that sort of stuff. His main trait, of course, is he's really tall, really, really, really tall. Had potential to be, during the process, he was looked at to be a tight end. He was looked at to be a 5-tech. He was looked at to be all sorts of different types of stuff. But, he's interesting, developmental guy on the defense. It's the position he's played the most. I don't know how successful he's going to be long term because he wasn't exactly the most incredible athlete during testing. I mean, that was the one area where he had to ace it and he didn't 100%. But I do think he's a smart guy. He's a hard worker. He has size that everybody likes, and I think that he could become a starter somewhere as a defensive end or 5-tech sort of situation, some kind of linebacker situation. But it remains to be seen. And this is his rookie year too, so there's still more time for him to develop. But he was a guy I wasn't 100% sure on long-term success with him, but he definitely was a guy that had a shot based on his frame and what teams wanted to do with him.
Yeah, agreed. Can agree with you more. Jesse Scroggins is a guy that, I don't know how many of these quarterbacks end up transferring or changing positions to wide receiver or whatever. But Jesse Scroggins is another one. He was at USC. He's still in college too. He was at USC. He was at University of Arizona. Then his development happened, so he transferred. I don't know what school Jesse Scroggins is at currently. He's at a FCS school though, on the West Coast, like Sacramento State or something like that, like one of the Big Sky schools, I believe. So I mean, he'll get a tryout probably, I'm sure, during the process. He's 6'2", about 210-pound guy. Might have to switch positions. He's got some speed. He's like a 4'6" guy, maybe. I don't know if he's gonna work out, but he was a guy that was just didn't get a chance really to play at SC. This guy had a position change. He didn't transfer. He was a quarterback. I thought he was going to be the best quarterback in the class. I was wrong. A lot of people thought Jake Seaves was the best quarterback, though, so they were wrong too. But Blake Bell out of Oklahoma, Blake Bell was, he was 6'5", 220 pounds. The Belldozer, he got the nickname at Bishop Carroll in Wichita, Kansas. All-state guy, Gatorade player of the year in the state of Kansas. He is a tight end now. He's caught a few passes this year, but I don't think that he's going to be – he's a blocking tight end. I think he'll have a long career, but nothing too special. Cody Riggs was another guy I really liked a lot. Him and one of the Marcus Joyner, who I mentioned earlier, were safeties together in high school at St. Thomas Aquinas. Kelvin Carter, the guy that didn't work out too well from Cal, I thought he was going to be pretty good. Another quarterback that I liked a lot was Tyler Bray out of Kansas. Devin Gardner was in this class too. Ahmad Dixon, Paul Jones, if you remember that guy from Penn State. It's been a while, I know. Robert Bolden as well from Penn State. Randall Telfair, another USC tight end. Quarterbacks, like I say, it's weird to look at some of these guys. It's just Barry Brunetti, man. I mean, that's a name that he never even got a chance to play in college from being a top 250 guy. I'm going to skip and talk about two receivers, though. This receiver class is deep, man. It's a really deep class. A lot of SEC schools dominate like they always do in USC. Two receivers. The first one is a guy that, I think you like him a little bit, Jim. I know you like him coming out, if I'm not mistaken, a lot. DeAndre Hopkins, Nuke Hopkins out of Clemson. Him and Kenny Stills, both of them. Obviously, Nuke Hopkins is a little bit better than Kenny Stills, but what do you think about both of these receivers? Nuke is a guy I think that could be, man, it's crazy to say, but I think he can be a Hall of Fame receiver if they can get a decent quarterback in Houston.
I won't go that far, but I mean he's been very good. Stepping in for Andre Johnson has been extremely productive. right now he's easily a top 5, top 10 receiver in the NFL. Been a guy that just is really good at just going up and getting the ball. Really good overall craftsman in terms of his routes. He's been away since Clemson, been a better route runner than Sammy Watkins. Really good hands as well, to be able to make really, really, everybody talks about Odell Beckham Jr. with reason, but if you're talking about the youngest wide receivers with the best hands, it's Odell and then it's Hopkins. He's really good in terms of body control and getting down really difficult catches at the NFL level, and it's kind of shown that. But yeah, he's been really good for them. And hey, you go from Andre Johnson and Nuke Hopkins, you're doing pretty good. And what's so surprising in that class is, he came out of a class where you had Tavon Austin going in the top 10, and he ended up going a little bit later, late first sort of area. And I think it's kind of surprising. At the time, everybody was going he wasn't going to be good because most wide receivers taken late first don't always have the best success rates. But, hey, he's proven everybody wrong that sometimes you have to look at the talent and not the statistical stuff. But yeah, he's been really good. And Kenny Stills has been really good as well. He's a very specific type of wide receiver. He's a type of guy that you want attacking the seam, using his speed to beat guys, 9 routes and stuff like that. Can do other things as well, but he's been most effective doing those types of things. It's unfortunate that he left New Orleans because that kind of was where he was being used the best. And now, was traded to the Dolphins. And we'll see what happens there. But he's also been pretty good as a wide receiver overall. Surprising guy as well because he wasn't drafted as high either. But, those are both really good. Out of that class of wide receivers, was it the best class of wide receivers in terms of 2013? Stills and Hopkins have come out as the surprises, if you will, especially Hopkins. He's pretty much emerging as the best one from it.
Yeah, Nuke Hopkins, in your draft class, looks like one of the best players on the best receivers so far out of this class. All these guys have names so far. We got a long way to go with these guys, but he right now is probably the best player I've named so far. He's doing a really good job in the field. And I watched him still play at Lacoste Canyon in San Diego. He's the truth, man. He's one of the best receivers I've seen in person as far as high school. And Oklahoma's really good, too. So, yeah, both those guys are great. Quentin Dunbar, not so much, but he was really good in this class as well from Booker T. Washington High School. Rajon Neal, James Franklin, the Missouri, obviously not the head coach, old Missouri quarterback there. Corey Nelson from Oklahoma, from Dallas, Skyline, Texas. Tyrus Thompson, who is a massive man, got drafted really pretty high. Did a good job at Oklahoma, all Big 12 tackle. I think he could be a pretty good NFL player one day. Hayes Pollard out of Crenshaw High School overcame so much out of Crenshaw High School to be, a solid player at USC. He was a captain, a 6-year senior guy, been there for a long time. Did a really good job there. Dior Mathis, Oregon cornerback. Andrew Donald from Iowa in this class. Keenan Lowe. So a couple guys that still in the NFL. A.J. Khan, the offensive guard from South Carolina. He got drafted early last year. Talk about another St. Thomas Aquinas player. If you haven't noticed, Jim, St. Thomas Aquinas had the most players ever in the top 250. From one high school. I've named about 8 or 9 guys already. This one is probably the best so far. Well, maybe. Matt Elam's really good too, like I said. But Giovanni Bernard. Do you think Giovanni Bernard is going to keep it up, as far as being a pretty solid back in the NFL?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was a big fan of Giovanni, almost too big. But
you were. I remember that.
Yeah. He's really good in terms of catching the ball in the backfield, just being a dual threat guy. That was what I kind of saw him as, a guy that could, get you yards through the run, get you yards through the air, and it has done that. now, of course, Jeremy Hill came in, and I know you were a big fan of Jeremy Hill too, and, he kind of stole the spotlight, in terms of, big man running and people not wanting to tackle him and stuff like that. But at least to me, and I know we'll see what happens, but at least to me, Giovanni was always kind of the more well-rounded back, or at least with passing, offenses. And he's really good. I think he's a guy that's going to continue to have a really good long career, being that dual threat kind of guy that can, through the air and on the ground type of guy. And we'll see what happens. He was a guy that even in rookie season, he had that one run. I think it was against the Dolphins, which was just like crazy how he played. People he was able to make miss and finally make a play down. So, but yeah, I think he's gonna be good. He's not gonna be as good as I thought he was coming out, but I think he's gonna have a pretty solid career going for him.
Agreed. And I like Giovanni Bernard as well. I mean, I love Jeremy Hill probably as much as you like Giovanni Bernard, but Giovanni Bernard, funny thing about him at high school is that I think he missed about 7 games. I don't drop guys for injuries that much. I mean, I don't know why he was so low. I mean, he was in the top 250, but gosh, I mean, he was in the mid-hundreds. He's a top 50 player in that class. His junior year tape was great, and I know St. Thomas Aquinas, they have a lot of stars, but he was one of them that was just dominant every single week. That team was one of the best probably ever put together in high school. Right? He was a big part of that, even though, he didn't play a lot early on. When they closed the season out, he did a really good job. So, Adrian Hubbard, who was actually a better basketball player. It's funny, Adrian Hubbard was the 100th rated basketball player, but 189 for football, but he chose football instead. I don't know, maybe he should have chosen. I mean, he's young, so maybe he'll have a pretty good career. He got drafted pretty low. I thought he was going to draft a lot higher than he did, but he went pretty low in the draft this past year. Honey Badger, though, at 191. Tyrann Matthew, man, I said Nuke Hopkins might be a Hall of Famer, might be too soon, of course, but then this guy, it might be too soon as well, but man, he's the truth. I've always liked Honey Badger. I've always liked Tyrann Matthew. He's just he's got the it factor. Even though he's not like a quarterback or offensive player, he just always makes big plays. Whether it's a return game or interception or getting deflection or whatever it is, his pass breakups are always good. He was a Heisman candidate at LSU. Has him off the total troubles, but he's definitely turned everything around now. And he's, the Cardinals are one of the top 5 teams in the NFL, and he's a huge part of that. He's the reason why. His teammate, running mate, old teammate, Daryl Simon, he missed a couple games because of injuries and grades, and he had some off-the-field stuff in college, but it seems like he's going to have a pretty nice career up in Seattle. Coney Ely is a guy that's in this class as well. He's gotten a lot bigger, man. He was only 220 pounds on his senior year. He's about, 292 now, Jim?
I mean, 280, but, I mean, he might be 290 now, but he definitely got up to about 277, 280.
Right, yeah, he's gotten a lot bigger. He's to be determined. I mean, he's, pretty good. We'll say I don't know how good he's going to be, but he's pretty good. And David Amerson was a guy that same dad as my high school, the same high school as my dad. My dad was a huge fan of David Amerson out of NC State. But, what I want to quickly, because we are going to close the show out soon, David Amerson. I remember David Amerson was supposed to be a first-round pick his junior year. And what happened? I mean, really. I mean, I know his career is in Washington right now, but why did he fall so far, I guess you could say?
Well, it was a combination of things. A little bit of it was having a down year for his final year, because he had the big year where he led the nation in interceptions, and then he had the other year where he didn't and had some inconsistent play here and there. Testing-wise, I mean, his short shell 3-cone, which it's funny because I wonder which teams care about it and which teams don't for DBs, but at least that was kind of not as good as people expected it to be. He kind of had bad testing from that kind of perspective. But, it was just a combination of him having a bad year to finish out his career, which happens a lot. Guys like Dante Moncrief, for example, he had a really good sophomore year. Then junior year just wasn't as good due to the emergence of, other wide receivers on that team, obviously. But people gave him heck for it, like, oh, you didn't finish your year out well, so you obviously aren't what you were that year, when sometimes it's a bit of both. They're a bit of that breakout year. There's parts of them that are that, and there's also parts of them that are the other year. So, but I think it was mainly that. But he's he's an interesting guy. He's obviously on the Raiders right now, and he's actually playing well. I mean, not I don't want to get too excited for him, but he's filled in well with the Raiders so far, which being one of our better DBs, which is not saying a lot, but it's pretty good. At least I'm happy that we have a DB that's better than a lot of our other guys that have kind of struggled, especially DJ Hayden. But he's turned out well. I know he struggled on the Redskins and stuff like that, but I think he just needs to go to the right team with the right fit that knows how to use him correctly. I don't think he was being used the right way on the Redskins 100%. But we'll see what happens going forward. But he was definitely a very talented player who just lacked, just a little too stiff. But I do think he has a chance to be a long-term starter on the Raiders. But, we'll see what happens going forward.
Yeah, we will do. I mean, thanks for the correction. He's not on the Redskins anymore, than the Raiders now. So you got your Raiders player in there. There was a while where we were doing these lists, and there was like maybe too many Raiders players because they weren't the greatest players. They were players from the past. But this is the new Raiders now. So hopefully with these new lists, they'll work out better. Just rounding out the class, man. There's a few guys worth mentioning. I mean. One is, he had a good, solid, long career. I mean, I think he lived up to, they didn't really have hype. I mean, he did a good job for the Beavers, man. Well, Sean Mannion was a 4-year starter. He's player 234, out of Foothill in Pleasanton, California. I think he might end up being the starting quarterback on the Rams. They might see what they have. If Polsky's playing so bad, they might make Sean Mannion the starting quarterback, and they see if they have a future big, tall, strong pocket quarterback there. Andrew Hendricks, another quarterback that's on the list, didn't make it. Notre Dame transferred to Miami, Ohio. Taylor Graham transferred from Ohio State to Hawaii. Didn't work out well for him. Prince Shimbo. A lot of positions he played. He played linebacker, defensive end, played a little running back, tight end. Interesting off the field stuff at Notre Dame, Falcons and everything. I don't know if he's going to get another chance, but he was pretty good career. Same with Geno Grissom, another name to mention. And I guess the last name, to talk about from this class was a guy I kind of skipped over. But he's at Iowa, or, A.J. Derby. He plays all over the field. Iowa is a top team. I believe, are they number 4 in the college football playoff rankings tonight?
I'm not sure. That's another one I don't think so.
Okay.
But,
they're number 4.
I mean, they're top 10. Yeah. They're up there.
Yeah. I don't agree with them being in the top 10 or top 4, but they are. I think they came in at number 4 in the rankings tonight. It doesn't matter what they're ranked, because if they lose to Michigan State, then they're not going to be in it. If they win, they'll be in it. It's pretty much a play-in game. So whoever wins that game's in, for the most part, I would assume. So, as far as the 2010 class, this class was different, like I said, from all the other classes we did. Because there's a lot of TBA. There's no for sure great guys. We think Hugh Hopkins, Matt Elam, and guys like that will be really good for a while. But we'll see. There's a lot of football to be played out there. But before I let you run off, game of the week, man, I got to make you pick it. Yeah, this is an interesting week because there's not going to be a game. the championship week. But I would think that Michigan State is the game of the week just because it's the play-in game. Who do you have winning that game and why?
It's really tough. I've picked Michigan State many times and was burned. And I just have to go Iowa. I know it's crazy. I know it's like, yeah, Iowa. But I think that they're going to go in with a chip on their shoulder. I really like the defense, how they've been playing. Their DBs have been making plays, especially Desmond King have been having a huge year this year, leading the nation in interceptions. Their offense isn't spectacular. It isn't going to win any awards. But I think in terms of that game, it'll be really close. It'll be a low-scoring game. Like, I see something, there probably won't be 30 points scored combined kind of game. But I think Iowa probably gets it, possibly. I know I'm second-guessing myself right now, but I think I just think Iowa's going to go in there with a big chip on their shoulder because everybody's like, you're going to lose. Like, there's no way you're going to win this game. And I think they're going to go in there with that mentality and, take it to them.
I've been not an Iowa fan, man, this year. This is the first time I've had them in my top four. The whole year, I have them at number 4. Like, my college football playoff ranking is the exact same as the real ones, as far as the top 5 go. I think Iowa impressed me a lot, even though Nebraska's not great, but that's a better team than their record indicates, in my opinion, Nebraska. And that was on the road. It was a rivalry game, and that was the first time I really watched them play since the beginning of the season. And they looked good. They looked like a solid football team. Their offense isn't great at all, and their running back of the season, the one I like, Jordan Canizari, I believe, but C.J. Beathard has done a good job. Their line always good. It's Iowa. Jordan Walsh, those guys up front are solid. The defense is great. They're one of the best defenses in the country. I'll give them that, and special teams. Coach really well. Not flashy, not fun really to watch, to be honest, to the average fan. But, they're a really good team. They do have a chip on their shoulder. No one's picking them to win. Some people don't even just want them to win. I hope they probably listened to Colin Cowherd this morning because he didn't have nice things to say about them at all. But, they don't belong there at all, even if they do win. But I don't know. I don't think they win. Saying all those good things about them, I think Michigan State wins. That team impressed me when they beat Ohio State. That was one of the most impressive wins of the year by any team. Going in there without Connor Cook at quarterback is big, and having Connor Cook for this game is huge. He wants nothing more to play big in this game because, he feels like they're a national title team, and, they almost lost, that game. They almost lost a few games, but, the game without him, I know he was definitely disappointed, wasn't able to play. I think he's going to have a pretty big game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I think Michigan State's going to handle the game pretty well, like 24-14. I think Cook throws for a couple touchdowns. He has a clean pocket with his really good offensive line, and I think they win. I think Michigan State's going to be in the college football playoff. I think at the end of the day, I think Clemson's going to win. I think Alabama's going to win. Oklahoma's idle. They're going to stay at 3, and then I think Michigan State will sneak in. There's a lot that can happen still. Ohio State still has a really good shot to get in. Stanford has a slight chance to get in. It would take North Carolina destroying Clemson and a lot of stuff to happen for them to get in. Don't think they'll be in. But we'll see, man. It's going to be fun, a fun week.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
A better playoff. It's going to be fun to watch that playoff as well, how that works out. And then NFL, I didn't get a chance to watch too much NFL this weekend. I was bummed out. I only got the chance to watch a little bit of the Broncos game and the Thanksgiving stuff. It was a busy week for me, but I wasn't too happy on Thanksgiving. No one in my house was happy on Thanksgiving because Cowboys, Packers both lost. So and then the Patriots lost. And then the Patriots lost. That's what my family likes. And the Chargers, and they're just not good at all. Philip Rivers is, but not so much the rest of the team. So it wasn't a great Thanksgiving. You probably had to go with the Raiders one this weekend. So I know you'll be happy.
The Raiders, that's definitely true.
They did. Eric Dawkins lost. I don't know who Ryan likes in the NFL, to to be honest. But, Oklahoma won for Eric. This weekend they blew out. So, I hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, is what I'm trying to say, with their football and their turkey. Jim, what's the go-to food on Thanksgiving? What's the go-to food you had, man?
It's turkey, man. Turkey.
Right?
And then afterwards, man, you got turkey gumbo. So that's the go-to, man. You go from turkey to turkey gumbo.
Turkey gumbo, man. Yeah, I've had it before. Just that would have tasted good the day after. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm a turkey guy. For sandwiches all day long. I love it. I didn't get enough turkey. Mac and cheese, though, man. We had the bacon mac and cheese, this year. The ricotta cheese. You know what I mean? So it was good. All different types of mac and cheese. And cranberry sauce, man. No one likes cranberry sauce except me. I've seen. So I eat everything, though. So I can't really say nothing's too bad except squash. I'm not a squash fan. But anyway, I hope. Jim, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, tell the people they can find and follow your work.
Sure. You can find my work at Fanside NFL Spin Zone, also draftcoburn.wordpress.com, and you can also follow me on Twitter at capital J, little N, little C, little O, little B, little E, little R, little N1. And, that's about it. So thanks for having me on again, Donovan, and we'll definitely talk later this week at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem, man. Hopefully Rivals doesn't have me working on Monday night so I can finally make your show, because I haven't been able to in a while. But I'm trying to get better at my picks. It seems like I moved up in your rankings. I don't think anyone's going to catch you unless we're counting bowl games. You've done a really good job, man, holding down the fort on that, on the pick'ems. So, go check out Jim Coburn on Friday, Saturday nights, Baltimore Radio, his show Monday night. All his work, definitely good stuff, man. You can find my work at Don James Sports. I'm taking a tad bit of a break this week from writing. I'm not going to have anything, but you can check out any of my stuff on RSC and Reports. I don't know what I'm saying sports related, but it's definitely a report. And Rivals.com, social media tip, you can always go on there, starting from 9 to 5 tomorrow. If you have any questions, just ask me. I'll put out some polls. I'll put out some linked articles and do some things on there on Rivals.com. So, yeah, like I said, follow me on Twitter at Don James Sports. I will be very, very active on Twitter. I'm in the process of moving right now, guys, so just bear with me. Moving, a lot of stuff I'm trying to do right now. Also did vote for the Lindekoff Award and the Gursky and a couple others, and that was fun. First time I've ever got to vote for anything that big, so that was pretty cool. Hope Vernon Hargraves wins, or Jalen Ramsey, one of those guys, wins the DB award. And up front, man, Jason Spriggs is a guy that, our guest got me kind of hip to early in the season, Jim Coburn. So I hope he wins. I voted for him. I don't know if he is, but I voted for him. So hope he gets the W. Indiana's had a pretty good season, so I hope he wins that award. But everybody have a great night. It's the Don James High School Report on NGSC Sports, where we never stop. Have a great night, everybody.